Hello, this is the President. Hello, this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. They're telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wayne City.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wayne City.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wayne City. Wayne City. Wayne City.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight on the program, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. As we edge even closer to Halloween, the shows are going to get darker and scarier. Some far more scary than I want to talk about. Tonight may be one of them. I want to first kick things off a bit. I want to talk about Halloween in general. All right. Now, Halloween's not coming until like the 31st of October. There have been fights now. People are wondering, should we move it to a weekend? And, you know, and it's just silly to be talking like this. It's just, Halloween is a date set aside for one reason only, is it carries over to the All Saints Day in November. Okay. And Halloween has become a potpourri holiday where the meaning is lost from a spiritual perspective. See, for adults, it's another excuse to get drunk. It's another excuse to go to parties where some men ogle at the women that decide that a Halloween costume consists of garters, short skirts, and cleavage. I saw the new Mr. Rogers suit, or whatever it is, for women. Mr. Rogers never looks so good, I'll tell you. But anyway, I'm just saying, Halloween is the naughty nurse, the Playboy bunny, the naughty French maid, all those things. And sometimes, you know, you see a lot of that too when you go to cosplay in Comic Cons. You know, you go to that and some guy walks around half naked. Oh, I can get away with it. I'm some character that walks around half naked. You know, the fewer clothes that are worn, that's the costume. And, you know, but I'm no prude, okay? Halloween, I think, should be a time for things bizarre and chilling. I mean, no titillating and crude stuff, just a lot of scary stuff. The only thing is if you dress up as a werewolf at Halloween or you dress up as a vampire, nobody wants to get near you. They don't want to dance with you. They don't want to watch you bleed. They don't want to do it. That's the thing. You got to wear something like a doctor's outfit or something like that. Or you know, something to, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it. One of my old producers is here tonight, and I'll tell you, he can crack me up no matter what. Anyway, so much of what's accepted today would have been seen as bizarre years ago. We know this. I mean, Ground Zero started out in 1995, and back in the day, I was considered the kook. I was considered the crazy guy, the tinfoil hat wearing dude. Now I'm pop culture. That's what pop culture is. Everything I talk about is pop culture. So I say, you know, everything that we accept today, it was bizarre years ago. But there are things that have happened in yesteryear and even beyond that time frame that I believe is more bizarre and accepted by the majority of society during the Hallows Eve season. Everything changes around Halloween. Now, if you want to capture the true nature of Halloween, you can go find a costume, or the best thing I like to do is I like to go to the library, or I like to dig around to find some old books I can blow the dust off and read all the books about superstition and werewolves and vampires. The books that I was raised on, Man, Myth, and Magic. I don't know if anybody ever read that book, that volume set. I would go to the Salt Lake City Library because I grew up in Salt Lake, and I would go to the library and I would read the books Man, Myth, and Magic. And that's how I got my education on the occult. It was something that just fascinated me. Books about vampires and werewolves and all the superstition and all that stuff. I mean, it's great. And you can go to the library and still find those books. In fact, I was in an antique store here in Portland. They had those books there, and I was tempted to buy them all. But anyway, I didn't. But in my library, here at the office, I have the library that I have online. It's aftermath.media. You can go there and sign up for it. So I have the library online. I have the library in my office with books everywhere. And last night, I got off the air, and I stayed behind for a while. And I was looking over two books in particular I thought thumbing through would give me some ideas for tonight's show. One was called The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish, and then there's the Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. Now, in Cavendish's book, I learned a lot of things I learned were about, like, numerology, for example, and how we empower numbers and letters and sigils. But numbers and letters especially caught my attention, and I was reading about how in early Christianity, early Christians were the ones who empowered numbers. A lot of the things we hear about numerology, astrology, all these things, as much as Christians hate to say it, that they don't believe in it, or that it was a part of early Christianity for the longest time. What were the three wise men but, astrologers that came to look for the king, and they saw it in the stars, and everything's written in the stars, signs and wonders in the heavens. All this stuff was all about astrology. But then there were numbers that were empowered. Numbers were given meaning, like 666 and 70 times 7 and 144,000, and all these numbers mean something in the Bible. And there were other numeric signposts too that had occult meanings. Letters and symbols, they were effective tools to empower seers and alchemists, very much like the sigils that are empowered for spells and divination. We know that we use the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We use the alphabet to communicate with one another. But I think a lot of people don't know that there are also strange alphabets in words. They were only used by the adepts and seers, and they used those alphabets, those strange alphabets, and those strange numbers so they could communicate with angels and demons. Now, many of the ancient prophets that had a hand in writing the Bible and other ancient texts relied on what is called automatic writing, meaning that they were merely scribes that wrote on behalf of divine spirits. And of course, we know that some of them wrote on behalf of God, as every symbol, letter, and number were given through the seer and were put down on scrolls, tablets, metal plates, you name it. So in Christian numeric symbolism, the number 8, I learned, or the symbol that we see that represents 8 pieces of whatever, was originally and still is the symbol that represents life after death. The symbol, as we see, as the number 7, represents life. It included every aspect of it, meaning birth, change, and death. And this was repeated in cycles of 6 and ending on the Sabbat, or the 7th cycle. Right now we are in the 6th cycle. So anything beyond that cycle, or beyond 7, was world to come. So think about that. Number 8 is the world to come. The 8th day, the 8th hour. As a result of 8 or beyond 7 or beyond life, we look at kingdom come, or eternity to infinity, beyond the physical, into the new life, from death to life. So anciently it was concluded anatomically that man had 7 orifices on his body, but a woman had 8 orifices. And the 8th orifice was the gateway through which life enters the world. So the number of man, believe it or not, was a 6. And he was created on the 6th day at a time known as the 6th age, or the 6th cycle of the world. So the primary component of blood is the key to your carbon life form, which is reduced down into components of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. 666. Very, very important number. Not just the number of the beast, but it's the number of a man. So man was given blood, and flowing through him is a living soul that, according to the book I read, The Dark Arts, the soul is actually light. Every single one of us have the light that burns, and that light leaves the body upon death. So you go from the 6, meaning the man, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, your carbon life form is reduced to that. You also have life at 7, which is birth, change, death, and then number 8 is beyond life, kingdom come. And the thing about the number 8, what's interesting is that if you turn the number 8 on its side, it too represents infinity. So the numbers, the symbols, the sigils, the letters. The numbers, the symbols, the sigils, and the letters all influence how we communicate with one another, but they also help us communicate with the dead, which is something we're going to talk about coming up on Ground Zero as we approach Halloween. Halloween, the time of not just the dead, but the spirit world. Kingdom come, eternity and infinity, the 8 on its side, coming up on Ground Zero. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Why do you think they call it October? Octavia? Octagon? 8. 877-733-1011. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clay Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The number 8, the symbol of infinity, as above, so below. The underworld and what is above, the number 8, on its side, infinity. October, 8. It's all about what is beyond this life. That's what Halloween is about. It's not a satanic holiday. It's a holiday that focuses on life after death in the spirit world. And it also focuses on numbers, symbols, sigils, and letters. And this is why many people at this time do a lot of experimentation with things like Ouija boards and tarot cards and using oracles of divination. Now, believe it or not, this type of activity went on like at the turn of the 20th century, and went on before then as well. And even though a lot of people condemn it, saying, oh, you're not supposed to do this, for centuries, Christians and Jews were saying, well, we feel as though that the dead need to be contacted. We feel as though those who did not hear the word or have the light also need to be spoken with. We need to find out if they have accepted the light or accepted the word on the other side. It's just the way it is. I mean, going from purgatory to heaven or hell was something that a lot of people worried about. And for centuries, Christians and Jews revered Hebrew as the divine language. It was the speech that was given by God. It was the speech actually that God gave. He was the God of Israel. Jehovah was actually speaking in Hebrew. Hebrew is not only the language which Jehovah revealed himself, but also the ancient scholars believed that it was the language that commanded the universe into being. And all things were spoken into open creation with light, and with light came all the communication and frequency, all in mathematical order, everything in its place, and God had everything numbered and mathematically in order, taking chaos and making it order, again, with numbers, symbols, sigils, and letters. And we see words and numbers, and the reason why we see words and numbers is because particles of light, photons, had bounced off the screen or paper, and then they reach your eyes. And each photon on that path carries with it some information about the surface it is bounced from. And that happens at the speed of light. And each particle makes up the body, and each body possesses many particles of light which animate what is called the soul, the light, the sun, soul, same thing. So the soul, or what happens after death, is certainly where the soul is, where it goes, is most important of this season now. the life after, the world kingdom come. See, Halloween is not the holiday for the devil. I have to stress this because it's the holiday to remember the afterworld. And if you wish, you could remember the underworld or the upside down, the underworld where the dead reside and how light and shadow are cast in order to somehow show the world hereafter. Now that's the thing about light and shadow. Light and shadow have to have a duality and balance in order for all of this to work. Okay? Nothing is evil if you are taking on the shadow and the light and bringing it into the forefront. Some people, though, see it as evil, letting any darkness in, but the darkness gets in no matter what, because darkness is the absence of light. So bringing light into the darkness, bringing the duality. And the question is how to get a glimpse of the world, or the afterworld, or the world above, so below. Remember the number 8, as above, so below. How do you get a glimpse of that world, the other side, kingdom come, using light, shadow, numbers, letters, and symbols? Well, there are many ways to do this. One is to put yourself into a trance, put yourself into this affirmation mode, into this light mode into your brain. In fact, Charles Fort, Book of the Damned, Charles Fort explained that all people have a tendency to be hypnotic. And he has said that if the proper authority saw to it, that the proper belief would be introduced or induced, the people would believe properly like good little sheep. And he also believed that if God was the universal mind, he didn't always have to act in a manner that was sane, meaning there's the dark side of God and there's the lighter side of God. So this is why we live in this remarkable world that goes very crazy, is because people, like gods, have these dual personalities. It's said that we live in perilous times, and often while in the middle of them, we seem to have some sort of epiphany that while we believe our little paranormal thoughts in church, we can openly pretend that no one answers prayers or doles out miracles or scrawls out little words on a Ouija board. So, when we hear of what can be termed doom or doom porn, we can become introspective and we ask ourselves, is life worth living? Well, the sad thing is that even as we ask ourselves that question, we're convinced that the answer is no. Even with all the frightening and crazy things I report on right here at Ground Zero, I believe that life is worth living. I'm always of the opinion that I want to see what happens next. And if I die, I think I'll miss out on all the fun that comes next. And whatever comes to us, I mean, we're all waiting for some sign. We're all waiting to go out with a whimper or with a rapture or some other cataclysm. But see, the thing is, we have access to kingdom come. We know that we can build a world that'll be better. We know that through reverse causality, we can plan for the best while we're experiencing the worst. Okay? And it may be a little scary to find out just how we go about it. And what we need to do, though, is we need to take in everything from mythologies to superstitions to numbers and symbols and letters to light and shadow, and we bring it all together. And this is where we live, and this is how we think and prosper in times where we feel that there is nothing left and we should give up. No one should give up because of kingdom come. No one should give up because of eternal life and eternal splendor in the presence of all light, universal light, love, and security. That should be the message of Halloween. And there are a lot of things that you can do to find out if it's true or not. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. The unfortunate thing is, most people are too scared to dabble in those areas. But tonight, we may just dabble, and you'll be able to see firsthand how it all operates. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. You are listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. You know, I was asked once what my favorite topics are that I cover here on Ground Zero, and I said, well, I love the shows that frighten me. I like shows that scare me to death. I really do. I mean, and I love it when the listeners scare me too. If they ever get me, I always laugh because, you know, sometimes they do that. But, I like a lot of the shows that deal with a subject I call synchromysticism. Meaning that if something synchronous happens, something like the other night when Danielle called, and then Tony called and said, well, Danielle said she lost her child, and she thought that what she was hearing with the EVP was her lost child, and then Tony called, and he said that he too lost a child, and her name was Danielle. And I thought that was amazingly synchronistic and scary. And, in fact, a number of people that were producing the show that night were all shaking their heads going, this is unbelievable. And so, like I say, stuff like that, coincidences and synchromysticism, just adds deeper meaning to the overall event, the overall show. And some people say that synchromysticism is purely a fixation on certain numbers and statistics and conditions that may or may not be meaningful to the groupthink. I think a lot of people paid attention to that, when we had that situation go down. But sometimes we experience something that they call the Oz factor, where we are the only person who can see the coincidence, or we're the only person that has this meaningful idea or epiphany or synchronicity when we're listening to something, or we are, we're watching something. It's like the idea that, you're humming a tune at the office. You're humming this tune, you got this earwig in your head, you got it in your head, and this worm or whatever it is. You get into your car, and sure enough, you turn on the car, and on the radio is the song you've been humming all day. It's kind of random, kind of synchronistic. They call it heliosyncretism because it's like you're synchronizing with the world and the sun. You are the sun, and the universe revolves around you for that moment. And so, You've experienced this, I'm sure. We can say it's completely random, or we can say that it's some sort of supernatural occurrence. And I know that there are coincidences for which no one has, or can be expected to, have any possible logical, scientific, or rational explanation. I mean, no one can explain, predict, and therefore be able to control the events and phenomena in question. Therefore, we are dealing with something called meaningful coincidence in current events. And one has to remember that what happened in the past, how it applies to the present, and what it means for cause and effect in the future. And of course, if you're planning that far in the future and you're preparing for that future event, you're kind of playing the game of retrocausality. And when you're in that situation, when you find yourself in your own head, it can become a very uncomfortable place. Tapping into your subconscious can equally be uncomfortable because sometimes it leaves you vulnerable. I remember one time somebody asked me, have you ever done LSD? I go, no. No, I haven't. Have you ever done DMT? No, I haven't. Well, they say that if you do LSD, you'll find out more about yourself. Believe me, I know enough about myself. I don't need to find out the crazy self. I don't need to trip on drugs. But see, that's the thing. Getting down and dirty into that unconscious or subconscious mind is something that may be scary. That's dream time for people. Sometimes dream time is pleasant when you're sleeping. Sometimes it's not so pleasant. And so you find yourself again in this nightmare world. This demon-haunted world that is most certainly a world that is poisoned in some way. Something very powerful has caused a glitch in the matrix. And the veil thins in these times of chaos. The veil is thinner in the month of October. People are beginning to see the demons appear out of nowhere. The chaos that surrounds us today is generating an environment where demons that we once thought were imaginary are very real and appear openly from time to time to remind us that they are here to thwart the progression of mankind. See, it's no longer rare to see 1 million people today that are nothing more than shells of what they once were. It's not rare now to see people angrier than they once were. It's not rare now to see the absurdities that are in this world. The clownish metaphor, if you will. There's also that metaphor of the walking dead, the zombies. It's not lost on those who are aware of how the demonic world is very real, and that there needs to be a concerted effort to try and foster a sense of peace and well-being in our lives. Something out there is straining on its leash. It's howling at the gates of hell. And it seems that the metaphor of the angels and the demons coming together for battle, well, that sounds like it's being brought forth, isn't it? I mean, this happened before. It's happening again. And every monster you can imagine is about to appear in various places. Every spirit that speaks from the grave will also impart valuable information for the living. Many people have been contacted. Many have the opportunity to contact them. And the question is, how do you do it? Well, the same way the ancients did it, right? Through automatic writing, and of course numbers, symbols, sigils, and letters. I mean, the best way to resolve the ambiguity surrounding death would be to talk to people who have died. And consequently, there's long been keen interest in finding a way to communicate with the dead. In a lot of respects, the practice comes with intrigue and warning that if you seek divination, necromancy as a substitute for spiritualism, you must also use rationalism to avoid what is called progressive voluntary entrapment. There are many ways people gather to contact the dead. Two of the most popular are a regular seance, of course, and then, you have a medium in the seance, and the use of a Ouija board is another way it's done. I mean, these talking boards have become a controversial way to accomplish contact with the dead, but there are also many factors that point to the idea that a session with the board can also dig deep into the subconscious mind, where you become a medium and channel to the board what is deep inside of you. While doing a Ouija board, you wonder, are the demons coming to me? Are the spirits coming to me? No. They're coming outside of you. They're coming from within you. Everything that comes out of that board is somewhere deep in the Akashic record, somewhere deep in your cells. The trauma handed from generation to generation, the scares and the fears and the end of the world that your ancestors saw is buried deep within your subconscious mind. See, Ouija boards have been a topic of scientists and science. And of course, scientists say that they're not powered by spirits or demons. I know it's disappointing, but it's also potentially useful because they're powered by you. Even when we protest that we're not even doing it, we're not moving the planchette, we swear. No, I swear I didn't move it. Dead. Ouija boards work on a principle known to those who study the mind for more than 160 years. It's called the ideomotor effect. Back in 1852, there was a physician and psychologist named William Benjamin Carpenter, and he published a report for the Royal Institute of Great Britain. And what he did is he examined these automatic muscular movements that take place without the conscious will or volition of the individual. So this means that the board itself is nothing more than a theatrical tool to channel what is being relayed through the bodies of those who touch it. See, that's what mediums do. Mediums open themselves up to the world, the spirit world, and the world hereafter. And all of these spirits and entities and lights enter in, and all of the knowledge that this light imparts comes through the medium. And when you place your hands on that planchette, and when you look down at that board, you are opening yourself up to being that medium. You're like a medium. Most mediums put themselves in trances, and they do the same thing without the use of a Ouija board. And yet, most people have no problem seeking out a medium. I mean, I can go down the street to a fortune teller or to a medium, or I can listen to a psychic. I can have a psychic on my show tonight on the phone, and I'd say, hey, call the program. You'll get your psychic reading. People will be on that like Blue Bonnet. They'll say, yes, I want a psychic reading. I want one now. But I say, I'm going to give your psychic reading from a Ouija board. And everyone goes, no. If I were to hold a pendulum over you and say a yes-no question to the pendulum, and it moves in a circular motion or back and forth, that's cool. You get to watch that happen. Say, watch the pendulum, and everyone's going, oh, cool, yeah. Or, how about dowsing rods being used in ghost hunts? Or what are those little things you carry around, that these meters to pick up numbers and lights to see if you've picked up any ghostly activity? Those are all tools. They're not blessed by some satanic magistri or anything. No, and neither is the Ouija board. I know the Ouija board has received an unnecessarily bad reputation. And a lot of people don't know why. Oh, yeah, I know somebody who knew somebody that had a Ouija board session where she freaked out and jumped out a window and killed herself. This goes back to the old drug stories. Remember the old drug stories we used to read about? Oh, man, she took some acid. She thought she could fly. She didn't fly. She died. She's dead. Cold dead. Those were the scare stories we heard when we were kids. Reefer madness, smoking dope. Smoke dope. You know what's going to happen to you, man. You lose your brain cells. Okay. Ouija boards are the same way. I mean, they've got this bad reputation, but you know where the bad reputation came from? It came from the movie The Exorcist. 1973. Before 1973, everybody said, hey, these boards are cool. 1920s, 1930s, they were used to have some fun at parties. After 1973, when little Reagan played with the board and Captain Howdy showed up and she did the, number on the rug and walked around like a spider and spit blood and pea soup, well, that's what got people to be afraid of the Ouija boards. Like, after watching Psycho, a lot of people stopped taking showers. The theaters stank pretty bad, but Jaws, you didn't want to go swimming anymore because of sharks. You don't want to play the Ouija board anymore because you never know what may possess you, right? Just because of a little movie called The Exorcist, that the little Ouija board has gotten a bad reputation. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. Let's go to Bob, calling in from Massachusetts tonight. Hi, Bob. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde.
Hey, man.
Yeah, so I had an experience with a Ouija board probably about 25, 30 years ago when I was in the Army.
Okay, what happened?
And like what you were just saying, where it's muscle control on the planchette. I really have to believe it is more than that. It is a portal.
Well, it comes through you. What you've done is it comes through you. You are like a channeler. So yes, you're opening yourself up like a portal, and it draws to you, but it goes through your body into the board. So your muscles and your like ideomotor responses, meaning that you are not consciously moving, but you are moving. And it's like...
Well, see, this is the thing, because we got a little bit outside of moving the planchette around on the board.
All right.
We were in the Army, so we were invincible. So we could do anything. So what we were doing is we were taking usually cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
We'd take two glasses. We'd put one on the floor and one on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of a couple hours, you could actually see the cocktail on the board go down a bit.
Oh, my gosh.
We'd take cigarettes and stand them on end, light them both, stand them on end, one off the board, one on the board, and you could watch the cigarette on the board actually look like it took a drawer off it.
I've never heard this before. This is terrifying.
So, yes, it was. It was when it happened.
I just put a cigarette on the board and it just took a big drag. There you go. That's scary. I mean, I can just imagine that.
There one night, after like 2 weeks of doing this,
right.
We were sitting there one night using the board, and we had gotten a lot of information out of it. We were talking to a spirit named Han, H-A-N.
Han.
He was an immigrant that lived in Savannah, and he burned in a fire one night. And we talked to him. I mean, this was over the course of a couple of weeks that we just got that little bit of information out of him, throwing out his name and what happened to him.
Right.
Toward the end of it, we literally could see the planchette like moving slower on the board. And he said he was getting weaker from our contact with him because we were giving him alcohol and cigarettes.
Oh, my gosh.
And eventually, we lost him. And when we lost him, the night that we lost him, two of the guys said they saw a head come up out of the board. But we were sitting in an Army barracks that had a big window. It got absolutely black and cold in the room. We had a candle going, that went out, and they saw this head come up out of the board. And it never worked after that. We never saw the planchette move again after that.
We did a Ouija board session once with some friends of mine, and while we were doing it, we were told that the person on the board lived like something like 2,000 or 1,000 years ago, almost to the time of Jesus, and was talking to us. And the last words from him, I don't remember his name. The last words from him were, "Take a picture of the mirror." And I thought, well, that's weird for someone to request that. Says, well, you can make pictures, right, without paintings. And we said, yes. I said, well, then take a picture of the mirror. And when we did, you could see in the mirror all of the men standing there that he claimed he was around talking through the board to us. It was just an amazing thing. They were all wearing robes. They all had beards. It was weird. It was just strange. We saw them in the mirror.
It is a portal.
Well, it opens one.
They definitely have
The
it.
board itself is not a portal. It opens one, and you're the person that is the conduit. You're the transmitter. The board has nothing to do with it. In fact, you can do it without the board. You can actually do it without the board. All you got to do is just sit there and allow the thoughts, like Charles Ford said, we're all hypnotics in some way. So let yourself feel everything within the ether, the ethereal feelings, and soon you'll be finding yourself channeling and automatic writing, and you don't need a board. The board is just there for show. It's kind of theatrics, but still, you get a bad rap, I think. But if you've had a Ouija board experience you want to tell me about, just to scare me, I'd love to hear from you. Coming up, we have a lot of great guests to talk about the largest Ouija board ever constructed. And that's coming up on Ground Zero. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Tonight we explore the Ouija board. We've done it before on the program. We're going to do it again tonight. And once again, I assure you that I don't think when they made the Ouija board, they thought, I think we're going to make a little board that opens the gates of hell. I don't think that was on anyone's mind when they started to make the boards. In fact, I think they were curious about what they could do to open America's wallets, and you know, they were actually giving people something to have hope for. Because, I mean, the Ouija board began its popularity after the Civil War, because a lot of people, of course, would die at young ages. They were, you know, and especially at wartime, when people want to contact dead relatives, and they figured that this board would work. It was interesting that I remember reading a story somewhere that when they wanted to put a patent on the Ouija board, they went to the chief patent officer, and he said, well, I'm not going to put a patent on this unless the board can accurately spell out my name. And so the investors didn't know the name of the patent officer. So they sat down, they did a Ouija board session in front of the patent officer, and what happened? The spirits on the planchette faithfully spelled out the patent officer's his name. And so the patent officer had no idea how it happened. He didn't know how the device worked. He just said, well, apparently it does. So all this ambiguity and mystery was part of more or less the conscious marketing effort of the Ouija board. Came with no instructions, and many people argue that it doesn't need instructions, and of course it doesn't, but a lot of people don't give it a bad rap. And I say, they're not. They're not a bad thing. I mean, Ouija board has certainly received a lot of unnecessarily bad a bad reputation, and many people think, well, why? It's just a harmless board. Well, I think it's because of what happened in The Exorcist, 1973. I think The Exorcist terrified a lot of people in theaters back in 1973. I mean, when you had all the pea soup and head spinning and blood and everything, and then the implication that a 12-year-old girl was possessed by a demon after playing with the Ouija board, it basically changes how people see a board, I think. I mean, it's the same effect that Psycho had on a lot of people. I'm not going to shower. No. I'll bathe before I shower. Some people wouldn't shower at all because they were afraid to get in the shower because of Psycho. And then, of course, Jaws came out and everybody was afraid to go swimming. So I think a lot of the time when people say, oh, Ouija boards are evil, I think it's because they remember what happened to little Reagan when she was playing with the Ouija board in The Exorcist, because almost overnight the Ouija board became a tool of the devil. And for that reason, it doesn't help when people continue to push the ideas that the board is a switchboard to hell. A lot of horror writers continue to use the board to rip apart the bodies of co-eds, and of course, like any other ghost hunting tool, the board can be effective in brushing up on ghost hunters' channeling skills. I mean, if you have to somehow get over the fact that, for some unfounded reason, Ouija boards have been denounced by religious groups as Satan's preferred method of communication, when Satan has better things to do than to hang out on a board game. Hell, I've told all my friends that when I die, I want Ouija board duty because I want to scare the hell out of teenagers. That's what I want after I die. But here's something even more scary than that, all right? So you think a small little board with numbers and letters on it and goodbye and hello on it's pretty scary. What if I were to tell you that there is a 9,000-pound board? It's about 3,168 square feet, and it's in Salem, Massachusetts right now. It's made a lot of news lately. It's amazing to look at. And what's really funny is that I remember a friend of mine and we were going to go to Burning Man, and we wanted to make a big board like this, but Rick Schreck, the creator of this board beat us all to it. It's an amazing board. I mean, I love boards. I used to collect them. I had some friends who collected them. We even did the Dia de los Muertos boards, which we had, which were really cool. But this one, I think, is the ultimate collector's item. I don't think anybody's going to be packing it with them to any parties. They're calling this thing Ouijazilla. And it's quite amazing. So tonight we had to get two important people on the program to talk about this. We have Karen A. Dahlman, who's the director of the Talking Boards Historical Society. She's a paranormal researcher and author, and she's also the author of The Spirits of the Ouija, 4 Decades of Communication. As a leading expert, a Ouija practitioner, she has been using the Ouija board since 1973 with astounding results. Within her message, Karen shares the positive side to Ouija boards as a tool for exploring consciousness, which includes the afterlife. Also the higher self and the sentient beings that exist among us within the unseen dimensions. Karen holds a master's degree from the University of New Mexico in art psychotherapy and is a licensed counselor and experienced hypnosis, past life regression, and channeling. She's a talk show host of Creative Visions TV, and she speaks and teaches at paranormal and spiritual conferences and events around the country overseas. And of course, we have the inventor of Ouijazilla himself, a true Jersey devil, Rick or Mortis Shrek. He's the owner and operator of the House of 1,000 Tattoos in Middlesex, New Jersey. And of course, they're both on the program tonight on Ground Zero. Welcome, guys, to the show.
What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, Rick, I gotta talk to you first, man. So, did you start building this in New Jersey and then huffed it over to Salem, Massachusetts? I mean, give me the story here.
Well, a buddy of mine works for a trucking company, and I was tattooing him at my shop. And I told him I had this idea to do the local artist Ouija board, but I couldn't afford all the wood. And they build shipping crates bigger than my tattoo shop. And he goes, man, I got more wood than you could ever use. I'll give you whatever you need. So I drew out a chart, and I said, would you be able to spare 99 panels? He's like, no problem. He had them delivered, and I hand-painted each one in the tattoo shop. It took me about 1.5 years, and then they built the shipping crates for me. We brought it to Salem, and it took us over 20 hours to assemble the thing, and at least 12 of us doing it.
That's a lot of heavy lifting, though. How much is each panel? How much does that weigh?
70 pounds, 3/4 inch.
Wow. It also has an active planchette, too. I saw you had a huge planchette. How did you build that?
Well, the planchette weighs about 400 pounds, and originally it was on 3 legs, like a real planchette. And my idea was to make it glide like it's on ball bearings. So the original legs had overturned stainless steel bowls that I got from Walmart, filled with felt, and they had bowling balls in them. So the thing was resting on bowling balls in steel bowls. And it worked great until I assembled it, and it moved, but it would move and stop. Like, you would really have to push it hard to move it. So the night before we went to Salem, I was like, okay, man, I'm just going to run to the hardware store and buy caster wheels that hold like 400 pounds apiece. And those things work. They make it effortlessly. You can actually move that 15-foot planchette with one hand.
Wow. And so, is it on display? Do people come in and do they try to work the Ouija board? No? No,
it was only there. Salem only gave us a permit for a 1-day event, and so it took us 3 days to assemble it, and we had it there for 1 day, and then the following day, especially Karen talked me into staying. I didn't want to stay. I wanted to get the thing home, but we stayed for an extra day, and it took about more than 10 hours to take apart.
Wow.
And the following day, it went back to New Jersey. It's in a warehouse now.
So, Karen, was it your idea to set this whole thing up and to make this event happen? Because it's an amazing event, and it got word all over the world about this amazing board.
Yeah, we're very thrilled about that. But no, one of the members of the Talking Board Historical Society named John Kozik, he lives near Salem, and he got it all worked out with the city of Salem, the permits, the approval, everything we needed. He did so much groundwork for us there so that Rick would have a place to show his board. You know, Rick would have showed it anywhere. It didn't matter. But we really liked the idea of being in Salem because they do support the Ouija board and all kinds of really cool stuff around Halloween.
So who came by and looked at it? Would you get a lot of critical people going, how dare you? Or did you get a lot of people who were really open to it, Karen?
There was more.
We really got a lot of people that were happy about it.
What's that, Rick? What'd you say?
There was more negativity on the internet than there was in person. We got nothing but an incredible response, and all the locals were saying it was the coolest thing they'd ever seen in town.
And Karen, what were you saying about the board and the response that you got?
Yeah, it was fantastic. People came out, and actually we're still getting contacts today saying, "Oh, why'd you take it down? We wanted to see it." And people heard about it on the internet on that Saturday the 12th is when we opened it and revealed it to the public. And they were driving in. They were flocking in, seriously, to come see it. And some people just got there just in time to take some pictures with it. Others came a little too late. But it was, like as Rick said, we had a lot of great comments and feedback, and everybody loved taking pictures with it. It really was an ultimate scene there for the Halloween month.
All right, well, we're going to ask you more questions, Karen and Rick. Rick Schreck with us, the inventor of Ouijazilla, is with us tonight. We're so glad to have him on the program. And, of course, Karen Dahlman, who is with us tonight, the director of the Talking Board Historical Society. Ouijazilla is a 9,000-pound Ouija board. It's, you can park, gosh, I don't know, a lot. I was reading somewhere that you can park like maybe, 3 or 4 18-wheelers on top of this thing if you wanted to. It's that big, and you got the planchette that's about 400 pounds. What an amazing feat this board is. So Rick Schreck, of course, is the guy he's the vice president of the Talking Board Historical Society, put together Ouijazilla on the program tonight. If you have any questions, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. We'll be back. If Ouija boards scare you, especially the small boards you get at the toy store, then Ouijazilla will terrify you completely into the next world. Ouijazilla is a completely functional and outfitted Ouija board with planchette that weighs about 400 pounds. It is about 3,168 square feet. Whether or not it can summon spirits remains to be seen, but it weighs 9,000 pounds. And tonight, our guests are, well, basically Rick Schreck, the man who created it. He is the vice president of the Talking Board Society, and also Karen A. Dahlman. She's been on the program before. She's the director of the Talking Board Historical Society and a paranormal researcher. So, I guess the question, Rick, is that if people, and Karen mentioned this, if people are like disappointed when the board gets taken down and probably moved back to New Jersey, wouldn't you be thinking about getting someone who could organize a tour and that maybe you can set this up elsewhere?
Well, there's going to be some events in the very near future that are already in the works, but you know what? I come from the school of thought. You always leave them wanting more.
Yeah, I guess you do leave it wanting more. But I tell you what, it looks like just to experience it would be amazing. You know, it'd be just to see something that remarkable. And I was able to actually get a look. Somebody had taken an overhead photo of it. And what I find remarkable, and maybe Karen, you can comment on this, the Ouija board actually gives specific instructions on how to use it. I think that's amazing. What do you think about that, Karen?
Yeah, Rick has a great sense of humor. He placed what he calls the board rules at the top of the board. And, you know, you and I have spoken about this before, Clyde. I don't really believe in the board rules. And I know Rick is probably more tongue-in-cheek about it. But these are the things you'll find on the Internet and a lot of the fears people have about how and where and why and what not to do when you use a board. Such as this says, never use a board in a graveyard. Don't ask when you're going to die. Don't ask where the buried gold is. Right. So it's more of a humor to the board, but it's something that's like a stigma that comes along with the board. If you go on social media, you'll find these so-called rules.
I was always thought the rules were there to protect people. I mean, I was always told never ask a Ouija board when you're going to die because, well, there's always that story that if you ask a Ouija board when you're going to die, a week later you'll be found floating in the river somewhere. I remember that when I was a kid. But I was always taught, you know, you don't ask it when you're going to die. Never use it alone. Never use it in a place where traumas happen. Like, never take it to a place where a group of people were slaughtered and then you go and do the Ouija board and try and contact the murderers. I mean, those are things I think are common sense, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, absolutely, in one regard. So people like to have criteria or parameters around their use of this tool, which I support. I mean, if somebody's not using this tool, you probably do want to have some kind of parameters around it. If you've been using it for a while and you have different beliefs about it that you feel like you're going to be able to make contact, as you mentioned earlier, Clyde, in your opening statement, about this is really, the board is nothing negative. If negativity comes through, really check your own inner thoughts and feelings, because that's what you're going to attract to yourself when you use this tool. So it's good to have parameters, it's good to have some rules, I think, for some people. But for others, like for me, I consider it more just that's humorous. that's Rick being funny. But I don't think we need to try to control the Ouija session so much, because then what you're really doing is controlling your own ability to do mediumistic work if that's what you choose to do, as you mentioned earlier.
Well, yeah, and I agree. I think there's some things, I've used the board a couple times during seances. I've used the board sometimes on ghost hunts to try and, contact. We had a really strange Ouija board session that happened at a place that was haunted one time, and we even went to great lengths to, we went very, very over the top with protection and all that, and it didn't work. We had something happen that went down that it's because somebody who was in the session we were with had been drinking. And I have a rule that if you're going to come to a seance or a Ouija board session, you cannot be high and you cannot be drunk. Because if you come in and you do those two things, you're liable to upset whatever's on the board, and this is something we don't want. And that just happened to be, there was this old theater we went into that was a bar. We spent the night there, and we had a room that was set aside with a very quiet room where we did a Ouija board session. Somebody came in, a woman who was drunk, and apparently, we didn't know this, but she was pregnant. And the Ouija board said she was pregnant, and to get her out of the room, because some demon wants to attack her. And that demon happened to be a demon called Obisuth. And we had no idea who Obisuth was, only that it was the demon that ate children. And she wanted to sue me. She said, well, I'm going to sue you because you allowed a demon to come into them. I said, I did not. I said, and besides, I think if this was to go to court and I said that you were drinking and you were damaging your child, I think this would be a lot different story. So it was a very, very strange night for sure, because what had happened is many of the women that were at the seance actually doubled over in pain because they were feeling something in their gut. They didn't know what it was, and they were doubled over in pain when they were in. I panicked. I never had anything happen to me like this before. And but something was in the room, and like I said, and I've said to other people, it would have come into the room anyway. You don't need a board to have that come in. This type of stuff, if you open yourself up to it, certainly you'll get visits, and you'll have all kinds of interesting things happen to you.
That's absolutely right. I remember we talked about that story before. The other thing, what I say, there is a rule I have, and it's don't mix spirits with spirits.
Right.
So I will never use the board if somebody's been drinking. I won't drink either if I'm going to use the board. I want to have my vehicle, my vessel, myself as a channel, to be clear, because it is me doing the work. The board does nothing.
Right.
And that's really critical for everybody out there listening. I highly recommend you don't get high or get drunk or whatever, use the board. That's when you start causing all kinds of issues.
Well, yeah, and that's the reason why at parties, you hear all these horror stories from teenagers saying, we were playing with the board, my friend got possessed, or, all this other crazy stuff. And it's because, well, yeah, of course, you guys were probably hitting the bong a little too hard, or you were doing something else, and this is why you got into this psychosis while using the board, what they call progressive entrapment situations that happen. Karen Dahlman's with us tonight on Ground Zero. Coming up, more from Rick Schreck as well. He's the man who created Ouijazilla. It's a huge Ouija board. We'll talk more about that coming up on Ground Zero. And your calls. Call up at 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Is a Ouija board harmless, or is it a tool of the devil? Well, maybe a little of both if you have something inside of you that's kind of biting at you from inside, something evil or dark. Well, we'll find out. 877-733-1011. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. Yes, the talking board is back for Halloween. Ouija board. But this time we got the biggest one. That's right. Our Ouija board's bigger than your Ouija board. Well, not really. I mean, it's kind of like, we're kind of doing this by proxy. Rick Schreck, who is a tattoo artist and the vice president of the Talking Board Historical Society, on the program with us tonight, along with Karen Dahlman, who is the director of the Talking Board Historical Society. We're talking about Ouijazilla, of course, left New Jersey and wound up in Salem, Massachusetts, and then now it's back somewhere, but still, it's an amazing thing. So, I didn't ask you, Rick, I mean, what was your fascination into the boards? How long ago were you fascinated? Where did you begin?
I started collecting in 1992. That was the first year I ever went to Salem, Massachusetts, and it happened to be the 300th anniversary of the Salem witch trials. So I fell in love with the place. It took me about 7-8 years, and when I met my wife in 1999, I told her I was a Ouija board collector. I had like 7 of them.
Wow.
Now I have about 200.
I actually, I used to collect them too, but then afterwards I sold them off to certain people. I had this really old one that looked like it was from the 1920s. And then, I had this friend of mine that I got a Dia de los Muertos Ouija board that was hand painted that I really enjoyed. And then now if you go to ghost, conferences, there's a guy here in Portland that makes Ouija boards, but he makes like Star Trek Ouija boards and Star Wars Ouija boards. And, there's also another talking board. I can't remember what we used. It was a guy whose dad, I guess, was a serial killer, and he made a board, and we were using that board too. We probably still have it in the office somewhere. If Ron's listening, I ought to bring it in because that was a weird board. We even used it on the air. It was really creepy that we used it. So, yeah, there are a lot of cool boards out there. I know your board is the ultimate, Rick, but what is your favorite board?
My favorite board of them all is actually not a mass-produced board. It's a Cthulhu board by this guy. He goes by the name Craig Hunt.
Uh-huh.
And he was making them back in 2008. They're highly sought after. I have 3 of them. He gifted one to me that was a factory production error.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually calls it the suicide board because the place that was making it, somebody had committed suicide across the street, in a building across the street, and the guy that owned the print shop refused to print any more of the boards because he got all superstitious about it. So this one was left behind and had a lot of stain stuck on it and like polyurethane, and it's all damaged. And he sent it to me, and he wrote the whole story on the back of the board. That's probably my favorite one of them all.
Yeah, here's some synchronicity for you. Guess what the show was about last night? Cthulhu. We talked about Cthulhu last night, so, I guess the spirit of Cthulhu is alive and well, not only on the show, and not only with the strange creatures they're seeing in South American oceans, but certainly, this is definitely a theme going on here, a running theme. And so, Karen, you've been busy writing books. I mean, you've been writing some really scary stuff. Tell us about your books.
Yeah, well, I love to write about the Ouija board because I've been using the board for, get this, Clyde, 46 years now. It's been a while.
Yeah, all right.
and by the way, that serial killer board is called Bob's board.
Yeah, Bob's board. We had you on for Bob's board, did we not?
That's right.
That's right. We also had Bob's nephew was on the show too, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
Talked to him. We talked about the board, and I have that board too, and I use it sometimes. It's a very interesting, very different looking board. But yeah, I write about using the board. And I want to say this: the board is just my permission slip. Really, that's what it is to do this work. I can't say that enough because I think everybody thinks, Ouija board, I got to be scared. A demon's inside of it. But so I really write about the positive side to the board, how it can be used to enlighten your life, to make changes like personal growth or self-help. But also, I do communicate with the afterlife, and I do communicate with sentient beings. So I write all about that in my books. And if people aren't into using a Ouija board, one of my books I talk about how to do this without the Ouija board. And I am working on a couple more books right now that goes even deeper into consciousness and what you can explore with the use of this kind of tool.
And, and like I said before, I mean, one of the things I think people don't bring up, and I think you're kind of hinting at, is automatic writing. And so would you say that a lot of what you write is automatic writing, since you do use the board, and then when you're away from the board, you could be channeling some very interesting people? I know a woman who was a singer here in Portland who they gave them a challenge. They wanted to raise some money for the cemetery nearby, and they gave them a challenge to write songs about famous people that died in the cemetery. And she claims that she did not know anything about the person all that much that she was researching to do a song about, but apparently it was as if that person was telling her everything in dreams and in sequences so she could write a song about it. So she claims that it wasn't written by her, it was written by the spirit of this woman that had passed away in the cemetery.
Yeah, bingo. That's exactly how I work. I'll get on the board, I'll get some ideas, and they help write my books. All my books have been written with the help of the spirit guides or the energies I communicate with. And then I will get off the board, and they'll continue to come through in terms of dreams. I'll be woken up. Usually when I'm working on a book around the clock kind of thing, I'll be woken up at about 2 or 3 in the morning, and they just start telling me all kinds of things. I just quickly write it down, would get up in the morning and read what I wrote, and I'm pretty much amazed. And then they'll come through too, and I'm at the computer, and I just let the flow come out. It's surprisingly, so it's not such a fight when I write sometimes. And other times I know when it's me writing because I'm like struggling with the words,
exactly,
with my sentences.
Right.
Exactly, you know how that works. But
Yeah, well, there were times
easily when I'm working.
There were times when I do my shows back in the day. I mean, now of course I've gotten used to it, and I come in every day and plan and study, and I've been doing this now for about 20 years, so I have a lot of stuff that I recall in the back of my mind. But there were times when I do my shows, I listen back to them, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not me. There's someone who has me and is channeling through me to give this message out. It was usually during shows like this, when we're talking about boards, we're talking about spirit writing and all that stuff. And so I certainly have an openness to this. By the way, I was just handed the Bob's board we were talking about. So I have a Bob's board in the room. We have different boards. I have my old reliable Ouija board from Parker Brothers. It's a very old board I've had for a while. We have another producer's board that's really cool. It has a big all-seeing eye on it. It's really nice. And then I got Bob's board. We got another one that's pan-painted. It looks really cool. So we got a few boards in here tonight just for the spirit of it all. And of course we're ogling the huge Ouijazilla that is all over the internet right now. And so we're very, very proud to have you on the show, Rick, because that certainly is a marvel to behold. I swear. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
We're going to go to the phones right now at 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Let's go down to Jeff in Michigan. Hi, Jeff. You're on with Karen Dahlman and Rick Schreck. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, and thanks for taking my call. Look, I used to hold Ouija board sessions, kind of like a party thing, back in the 90s, and I used to get some rough groups in, like bikers and their girlfriends and stuff like that, and, I was laboring at the job, but I used to use like a 1950s rectangular diner table, and I used to just draw the letters out on the table, and we used to use a shot glass and use that like that, and the table would start to lift, it'd get up in the air, and then the shot glass would raise off the table simultaneously, and we tried doing that with a board, too, on the table, and we'd get the table to raise up off the floor, and then we'd get the board to raise up off the table at the same time, and then the shot glass, but we didn't use a plastic planchette. We used a whiskey, little whiskey
shot glass
one, but that would raise up in the air, and then the board would spin around. Well, that really freaked out people, even these biker types, and that always interested me, and it got me interested in science and stuff like that. After that, but it made me a pariah in here. So I wouldn't invite. You have to be careful where you do it because you're gonna.
Well, a lot of people, though. I mean, I understand, Jeff, because a lot of people, they freak out the minute you say, "Oh, I got a Ouija board." I freak out, but they don't look at the art of it. I think that, artistically speaking, they're really cool to look at. And even though you may not use them, they're certainly interesting to display. They're certainly interesting to look at. And as an oracle themselves, are just something that is used to, I guess, bring theater to your seance or bring theater to your automatic writing. I think it's a great tool. It's amazing to actually look at. And, you've heard all these stories before, Rick and Karen, and just curious, while we still have some time, is there any, weird stories you wish to share? First, Rick, do you have a weird story you want to share us about your experience with the Ouija board?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Every time I've ever used the Ouija board, I was always convinced the other person was moving it. Okay.
So do you still have that feeling, or do you think that maybe something spiritual is moving through you when you use it?
I've tried, like, that list on my board, right? All those do not things. I kind of use that as a to-do list because I tried to, do all the negative stuff, like graveyard stuff and all that, to make things happen. And I wasn't ever lucky enough to have any of those spooky experiences that I always looked for that you saw in horror movies.
Right.
And I've seen people use it. I've used the board with Karen, and I've used the board with my wife and my kids, and they all, they all feel something. I've never had a real super cool experience to speak of.
Yeah, and then you have to lug that other big one around. My God, man, that's really bad experience. So, Karen, have you had any weird experiences with the board that you can relate?
Oh, I've had so many over the years. I would say when I was younger, it was probably more weird and spooky because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I got started when I was 8. And then, as I kind of grew up with the board and got better at using it wasn't so spooky. It was just mostly amazing and remarkable. I do a lot of open message circles or readings for people or live shows where people get a call in, and I don't know these people at all, and the messages that come through are so exact, so precise, and that to me is really amazing. But I do remember one story in particular happened when I was in Mexico just visiting. And in a nutshell, I wasn't planning on doing the board, but I actually saw an apparition. And when the apparition came, it kind of freaked me out. And so my friend had brought a board with her, and we sat down and used it and spoke to her. And we found out that she had committed suicide and was looking for her daughter who was killed. And we ended up reuniting her and her daughter together. I write about that in one of my books, but the story didn't stop there. She came to visit me again when I went back to California after I was in Mexico, and she had more to say to me. We helped her move on and be able to move into the afterlife where she was kind of like not wanting to go there. But I've had a lot of just crazy, interesting experiences that just blow my mind. There's not a session I sit down at that I'm not just totally amazed and astonished.
Yeah, I've had a few. They're really amazing and astonishing. And so far, no one has gotten hurt, but certainly gotten a little spooked. Karen A. Dahlman with us, director of the Talking Board Historical Society, Vice President Rick Mortis Schreck is with us, the owner-operator of House of 1,000 Tattoos in Middlesex, New Jersey. He's also the inventor and the mastermind behind Ouijazilla. Take a look at it online. You'll find it very interesting. Coming up, more of your phone calls, and in the next hour, we're going to be doing a little boarding ourselves, and that's not with a surfboard. We're going to be boarding here in the studio. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Karen Dahlman is with us tonight, Talking Board Historical Society, and of course the inventor of Ouijazilla, Rick Schreck, with us tonight, taking your calls at 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Let's go to Mary in Texas. Hi, Mary. You're on Ground Zero with Karen and Rick. Go ahead.
How are you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
My main question is I've never experienced the Ouija board, but I'm interested in more in the crystals, the bracelets. I had ordered me some a couple of weeks ago, and I was waiting for my husband to come home to tell me how to use them because I'm legally blind.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the black Kyanite, a health bracelet, and I think a black tourmaline necklace and a bracelet. And I emailed them, and they told me that I'm probably going to need a selenite because I was explaining to them what's going on in my life, and they told me that I could be an empath. But I was wondering will they keep the negative energy away from me, or will it help me prosper into my own energy?
Karen, what do you think about these crystals that she's talking about? You know anything about crystal energy?
I do, and I love all kinds of gems and crystals and stones, and there's a lot to be said about everything has energy or energetic properties. I mean, everything is moving molecules, and so there's definitely a sentience or energy about them, and it's really, really your beliefs that you put into them. So you pick stones that are really more for protection and grounding, it sounds like, and a selenite stone, which I love, is really for more the higher octaves and realms and dreams and channeling. So it's really a nice balance to bring in the selenite with the darker, the tourmaline, and the darker crystal. So it's a nice balance, and they're probably right to help you kind of get that yin-yang balance going on. But those are fabulous stones. Enjoy them and just absorb all you can about working with them and learning about them, because there really is not just one way of using them, and there's not just one belief behind them. So I always encourage people, if you ever pick up the stones or the crystals, to read many different books on it, and then see what works right and fits right for you. And then soon enough, you'll be developing your own crystal magic.
That's great. That's great advice. Karen Dahlman and Rick Schreck, thank you so much for being on the program tonight and giving us the word on the Ouijazilla. We'll probably have you on again, Karen, to talk more about this. And Rick, once again, what a great idea, an amazing idea. So glad for your success.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Karen, we'll be seeing you again soon, I'm sure. Thank you for being on the program again.
All right, bye-bye.
You take care. Hi, definitely. Same thing. Same to you. All right, we'll be back with more Ground Zero. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Coming up, we're going to be surfing the seas of spirituality. We have a number of boards in here. We're going to try them out on the air and taking your phone calls as well at 877-733-1011. More Ground Zero coming up. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Clyde. I want to talk to you about something we tend to ignore or may want to consider. Now is a great time to focus attention on the importance of preparing our families, homes, businesses, and communities for disasters that threaten our lives, property, and homeland. Preparedness is a shared responsibility. It is critical to maintain readiness. Each step we take to become better prepared makes a real difference in how we will persevere when faced with the unexpected. Well, there are two things you can count on when you buy from My Patriot Supply: getting high-quality food for the best value and freedom. The emergency food you'll depend on is made from the freshest ingredients. Meals are freeze-dried and sealed airtight with an oxygen absorber enclosed in a resealable zipper pack for a long-term storage that lasts up to 25 years. That's amazing. To order, go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com. Or call and speak to a preparedness advisor at 888-440-8150. That's 888-440-8150. Be sure to mention Prepare with Ground Zero. 888-440-8150. I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers called tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. It's difficult. It's a hard sell to get people to think outside the box with regard to Ouija boards. They became completely vilified after the movie The Exorcist came out in 1973. Almost overnight, after that movie was shown in theaters, the Ouija board became a tool of the devil. And for that reason, it doesn't help when people continue to push the ideas that the board is a witch board or a switchboard to Satan, or that it will open the gates of hell. There are plenty of films out there that depict the Ouija board in some evil way. In fact, a lot of it has to do with ripping bodies apart and possessing co-eds. And, of course, a ghost hunting tool that works well. You have to somehow get over the fact that for some unfounded reason, the Ouija board has been denounced by religious groups as Satan's preferred method of communication, when Satan has better things to do than hang out on a board game. In 2001, in Alamogordo, New Mexico, Ouija boards were being burned on bonfires along with copies of Harry Potter and Disney's Snow White. Christian groups still remain wary of the board, citing scriptures denouncing communication with spirits through mediums. If you do a search for Catholic.com, Catholic.com calls the Ouija board far from harmless, and the 700 Club, Pat Robertson, declared that demons can reach us through the Ouija board. So even within the paranormal community, if you bring a Ouija board into a room, it gets a little dodgy there too. A lot of people get a little weirded out by it. It doesn't make any sense to me, because every paranormal investigator has used tools to pick up disturbances or electromagnetic changes in a room, and they've used mediums that sense some things, and then they say what they are feeling, which again is free thought and automatic thinking, and it all flows through the medium. But somehow, if it flows through a medium into their hands onto a planchette, it becomes evil for some reason. I mean, you can't have it both ways. The board literally it either brings theater into the mix, just like tarot cards and throwing runes and crystal balls, and you can actually have contact with a dead or a demon, and you don't have to touch a board to get in contact with a demon or something. I mean, if you use a dowsing rod, it's the same principle. You ever use dowsing rods? I see those at ghost hunts all the time, people using dowsing rods, and they cross and immediately, that means the ghosts are there. Or pendulums. You ever seen those? Yes, swing one way, no, swing the other way, or go in circles. So, as we're thinking about Halloween being a spiritual time, and the fact that we've got plenty of Ouija boards in the rooms with us right now, I want to take a few calls, get some experiences out there, and then with the help of my assistants, who we'll announce in just a bit, we're going to be riding the waves with the spirit boards tonight on Ground Zero. We're going to go to Dave first of all. Dave in New York, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Wow, last night the Loch Ness Monster, tonight Ouijazilla. It's a great break. It's a great break from the political nonsense on television. Well, I have a bad experience. Regrettably, I smashed a Ouija board. It was a Parker Brothers, your basic one from the toy store.
Mm-hmm.
I broke it in half and threw it off a bridge into a river. This was sometime in the 1970s. I'd just gotten my driver's license. We had one of those little FM converters underneath the dashboard to hear all the preachers on the radio. And I remember a preacher talking about how if I used the Ouija board, I was going to get demon-possessed, and I was incorrigible back then and got convinced to throw the board into the river, and I regret it today.
Why do you regret it? You want to try one out again? Is that what you want to do?
Maybe. I don't know. When I was a kid, it was kind of strange. I grew up in an evangelical family, and I was surprised in retrospect that we had one of these boards in the house. I was into antique cars as a kid. I used to go with my uncle to car shows and all kinds of things. And I remember asking the board questions about particular cars, and I remember the answer was a Franklin automobile at one point, which was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the heck happened, but my family got more and more away from, how shall we say, the paranormal and more into more rigid ideas, I think.
Right. Well, there's nothing wrong with, having your religion and then also being able to expand your horizons a little bit. But like I say, I mean, this isn't for everybody. The board isn't for everybody. I'm not saying that, hey, you should use the board whether you like it or not. No, if you have a bad feeling about something, please do not use it. If it makes your life hell, don't do it. Okay. But, there are some people that, they know how to use a board. They don't go around using it like some teenager on a prom date. They certainly know that you ask the right kind of questions. It gives you a lot of interesting answers. I mean, for me, when I use it not to, contact my family or contact somebody who's passed. I use it basically to get information about the world in general. And it's far more interesting to do that than it is to go after some personal things, because no one wants to hear personal stuff. They want to hear if this board's going to give them information about what's happening in the future.
Question I've got, is it communication with spirits, or is it perhaps your own subconscious that comes out through that planchette?
Well, that's what the ideomotor responses are, and that's what a lot of scientists are saying, that, it is your response to the planchette with your hand, but something is going through you. That's why it's always nice to have two people on the board at the same time, because something is going through the body into the planchette that moves it the way it does. So it's an ideomotor response. Your muscles are involuntarily moving around the board, and they land on certain letters, and they may mean something. And that's the mystery of it, is why is it that the body reacts as it does to create these things, and what is coming out? Because we've had sessions before. In fact, Tracy Twyman was the last Ouija board session we've had, except for Bob's board. And she had a lot of things that she did with her board. She made her own board, and that board was giving her information about the future that a lot of it came true, actually. A lot of people have called many times to say what Tracy did with the Ouija board was very interesting. And that was probably the first time in a long time that I allowed a Ouija board session to happen. And in fact, tonight we've been talking about how, doing this session is in memory of Tracy, who passed away this year. And we were also open to the idea if she wanted to come onto the board and talk to us, that'd be amazing as well. So.
Well, I remember as a kid, we used to record the church services and get together at the house, and they'd connect all the tape recorders together to copy the tapes for the shut-ins. And I remember all kinds of interesting conversations with the adults. I was a really young kid, and at that point they talked about flying saucers and the paranormal and all kinds of things. And it seemed like as I got older, everybody got away from that. They no longer talked about that, and I don't know why they got away from it. A lot of the people I knew became ordained ministers, and I guess you're not allowed to talk to them.
Well, I mean, a lot of people think that the paranormal is something of the devil. It's really not. It's there to educate you, and you learn more from it. So I think a lot of people, they go through their phases, and they get older, and they think, I have no time for it. But then they rediscover it again, and when they do, they're very surprised as to what they learn, especially when you get older and you realize that, you're cramming for your finals before that final day. So you want to find out everything you need to find out. Dave, thank you for the call. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
You do take care. Have a great night. Let's go to, Ryan Gable's calling in from New York. Hi, Ryan. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. Good show tonight.
Thank you.
Karen's a good friend of mine. She actually sent me the first Ouija board I ever had.
Oh, cool.
It has not, since she sent it to me, burst into flames, so that's good.
It's good, yes.
Nothing bad's happened. I actually used it to channel what I believe was my pet. I had a pet Peking duck when I lived in Florida, and I believe that I communicated with it. But what you guys were just talking about a second ago kind of reminded me of Bandersnatch, where the one character says, it's the spirit out there that works through you. And that maybe in some way is what you guys were meaning about the Ouija board from a popular culture standpoint.
Well, I've always heard the old saying where whatever is coming at you sometimes comes from within you. And that goes for anything dealing in the spirit world. If you're dealing with the board, much of what is happening, sure, there are spirits around us all the time, but if you open yourself up and your muscle responses are being guided somehow, then there is this magic going on where you are a conduit to the other side. And I think that is what needs to be stressed here, is that while, yes, you're moving the planchette, and yes, you're probably not as cognizant of what you're doing, there's something in the room or something with you that is guiding you. Now, what that is anybody's guess, but people can do it without a Ouija board. And when it's done without a Ouija board, people feel more comfortable about it. But for some reason, the board itself has gotten a bad rap, when in reality, it's all in you. It's all what you do.
Certainly, and if you look at a board, most boards are made of wood, ink, plastic, and I thought it was interesting because if you look at a book, for example, a book is made out of similar materials. It's made out of paper, it's made out of ink, and there's a practice called bibliomancy where people open up the Bible and they see certain verses or certain words, and they take that to have some kind of personal meaning in their personal life. It's a form of divination. It doesn't mean that the Bible's bad. And
I've done bibliomancy before. I think a lot of Christians have done bibliomancy where they say, okay, open a book, and what's the scripture? And you it's like pointing your finger at the globe, and you see the scripture, you read it, and you take in meaning from it. Why was that scripture given to me? That's bibliomancy. That's where you're actually using the Bible for a guidance by opening it and randomly selecting a scripture that you have no idea that you've selected, and you put meaning to it. That's synchromysticism, what we talked about earlier on the program. And a lot of people do bibliomancy because they think it's okay to do it, but it's no different than working a Ouija board, in my opinion.
Right. It's kind of like spinning a globe and putting your finger on a part of the globe and saying, this is where I'm going to end up living someday.
Right.
And it's one of those things where you watch a lot of movies and you see the Ouija board and there's always like a group of girls and they say, okay, who am I going to marry? And then the planchette starts moving. It's funny that when I was going to high school and when I was going to middle school, I went to a Christian school, and I always remembered hearing about how Ouija boards were really dangerous and these kinds of things were scary and we should stay away from them. But every year during Halloween, during Samhain, Samhain, during this time of the year, we would do apple bobbing. And it's funny because the common thing people ask on a Ouija board is, who am I going to marry? And apple bobbing is actually based on predicting who you will marry, who will be next to be married, like throwing a bouquet of flowers at a wedding.
And it was done with apples. There was also some connotation of the Adam and Eve forbidden fruit thing as well, the choice between one person having an apple and another person having the apple, and whether or not you should pair up with them in a kissing room or something of that.
They'd actually...
Yeah, go ahead.
They'd hang the apple from a string on a tree, so it's very much like the Garden of Eden.
Exactly. It's all got basics. Everything is based in the Bible. Everything is, I was talking earlier about how did the prophets speak? With numbers, sigils, and letters. And those letters are part of the light situation. And so if we put those numbers, those letters, those symbols and sigils on a board and we move a planchette around, it's no different than what the prophets did of old. So Ryan, thank you so much for calling. It's the same thing. It really is. And it gets a bad rap just because of a movie. Anyway, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. More to come. Keep it here on Ground Zero. Let's go to Charles calling in from Maine tonight. Charles, you're on Ground Zero. What's up?
Yeah, hey, Clyde. I was focusing on the part where you're talking about portals, like that sort of thing, and then you had other people mentioning subconscious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a story that happened, is that I had a sister. She was like 3 years older than I was.
Yes.
And she had a bigger room than I had, like a bedroom. And when she got older and moved out, or, was doing her own thing, I eventually got a room. So oddly enough, there was a lot of things that my sister said when she lived in that room, and I always assumed that, like, yeah, she must have been, like, out partying or something, those stories don't make any sense. And I would have all these wild dreams, and I would like tell my mom about them. And you know, I think it was basically my subconsciousness as I grew up. But I was still a kid at the point, and I had this dream one night is that I'm sleeping and I was dreaming, and there was like a figure that came up. I was no longer in my room. I was dreaming. I was in another room, and I was on a bed, and there was a window next to it, and there was like a figure that floated up. I believe it had wings. I didn't see the wings. And it like knocked on the window, or it wanted to come in. Mm-hmm. So I opened the window, like a double glass window thing, and the being came inside. And, you know, it was very polite, and it asked if it could sit on the bed or whatever, and talk to me. And I said, yeah, go ahead. And then I sat on the bed, and if you can imagine, there's a dresser in front of the bed, and I remember the dresser for some reason. It has nothing to do with the story, but this angel or spirit or whatever it were laid down the book. It had a book with it, and it explained to me, this is the book of you. And I was like, okay, well, all right. Well, it was asking me, like, you want to read it? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So it showed me the book and everything else, and it was a really big book. And I figured, you know, it's kind of weird. I want to see if I can, like, extrapolate anything important from this. So I ended up waking up, and I remember specifically from the dream, it said there was a chapter or a page or whatever. It had something to do with, like, something that you can do that apparently was interesting to me. And I remember reading the book, and it was Parpin's Trot. Mm-hmm. It was 2 words, Parpin's Trot. And I said, that's kind of weird, because I think, like, your subconscious, like, I used to watch, like, old Batman movies where they say, you know, your or comics or whatever, you know, your subconscious, as far as I know, your subconscious can't read. So I was thinking, well, that's kind of weird. It must have been, like, a word that was on the radio or something. And I found out that, you know, there was no radio on and everything else. And I said, well, I wonder how the word Parpin's Trot got into my head, my subconscious, while I was sleeping. So I go to the local library. It was in New Hampshire. It was the local library. It's a very small town. And I talked to the librarians there, and they have these really old books that is like from other parts of the world where different phrases and words come from. Mm-hmm. And it only took me like maybe 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it were. And you can't check these books out of the library. And one of these days I want to go back there because I found the term Parpin's Trot, and it was it had like a history behind the book. It was like, I believe it was like German mixed with something, like it had like an ancestor.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
It means the ability to walk through a stone wall.
Wow. That's amazing. And that was in your subconscious mind, right?
Yeah. I never heard the term before, and I never heard the term, like, since that day. And it was just weird because, you know, I always thought that I had, like, a vivid imagination, this, blah, blah, blah.
Maybe you have a very good subconscious mind, and that would mean that maybe you're a prime candidate for mediumship. That always happens, too, when you're doing that sort of thing. You learn just who you are inside when you're doing these types of things. Charles, I'm out of time, but I thank you. So I decided that coming up, before we do anything with the board, I'm going to do a little bibliomancy on the show. So we've got this random Bible verse thing that I'm going to do, and then that's how we're going to start it off. Okay? Sounds like a plan? Because I know that Ryan brought up bibliomancy, and I think a lot of people don't know that people do that. They actually find a scripture at random, and they figure this is how you're going to start the night, so it would be a good way to open the show, open up the Ouija board session. So that's coming up on Ground Zero. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. 877-733-1011. We'll be back. You're listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Tonight, we have some special guests in the studio. And, of course, One is a former producer of Ground Zero, Aaron Duran. He's been creating stories both in print and audio, starting as a blogger in 2004 and adding an ongoing weekly podcast a short time later. He uses Geek in the City, that's geekinthecity.com, as a venue to explore geek culture within society and how each one impacts the other, for better or for worse. For years, he reviewed the work of others, but in time he started creating his own stories, publishing the comic series La Brujeria. It helped him to explore his heritage while mixing the odd stories he loved as a kid, turning horror and piracy. Actually, Dark Anna and the Pirates of Kadath let him play around with the darker side of heroics. His most recent adventure is The Forgotten Tears, novels that help him come back to the time when he would read books under the cover of flashlights, firm in hand, and hoping the monsters under the bed weren't real. He's also had the opportunity to explore other worlds working on Lazarus, Black Ops 4, Trackers, and the Unfashioned Creatures Frankenstein anthology. He's also honored to participate in Where We Live, Las Vegas shooting anthology, where of course he's here, and of course Aaron worked on Ground Zero. What year were you on the show?
I went 2003 to like 2006, if you were to add it all up together.
He was one of the most important producers we had, probably the least talked about. How's that for sucking? I'm sorry about that. No, I talk about you sometimes.
No, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, well, I talk about you sometimes. I mean, you're probably one of the more famous producers, because now you got a comic book out. You guys got a comic book out, come on.
We got a couple.
Got a couple out, yeah. And then Christy Williams is with us tonight. Of course, she is she's been kind of like in the background too of the show. She's, I guess, spiritual advisor in some regard.
Yeah, well, we go back. We did the Anthony Patch event together, and we had a remote view, and we had Elena come in for chemtrails, so we've done some classes together, and we've been friends for quite a while.
And you also run a huge store here called Invoke, which is a paranormal store.
It is. It's fantastic.
It reminds me of Rest in Pieces. In Virginia, I went to Virginia and saw that place, except you don't have bones in your store.
Oh, I have bones.
Oh, you have bones now?
I brought a bone now. There's a bone right here.
What's the bone? That's a good bone.
For tonight, well, that's a vertebrae.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's from a carcass that is in my yard.
So we have carcass bones, and we've also we've smudged the room too. What are we smudging with tonight?
We did actually. It's some sage I brought back with me from the Four Corners. I have a love for Moab, Utah. So I
love Moab too.
Yeah, real strong connection. And we have some rosemary here out of my yard, and some mugwort out of my yard, and a few stones.
Some mugwort.
Mugwort.
You sound like a bunch of witches.
Yeah.
Here with mugwort. So speaking of doing some weird stuff. So Ryan called the show. I don't know if you guys were in the room when he called, but Ryan Gable, who, I've worked with before, he has his own show called Secret Teachings. He called and talked about his Ouija board experience. And he talked about bibliomancy, which I've participated in many times. It's where you find a biblical passage at random. See, we have the Bible here. I don't know if you hear it. I'm slamming the Bible closed, I guess. That's the Bible. We have the Bible. And so what you do is you then go to the Bible and you open it and you go through a page, and then you kind of close your eyes and you hit a scripture and you read what the scripture says. And this is what we're going to use to kind of kick off the thing tonight. So, okay. You're kidding me. All right. So, the scripture tonight that we're going to kick this off with, since we're doing some bibliomancy. Never thought I'd do this. I haven't done this since I was a missionary. And missionaries, I don't know if we're supposed to do bibliomancy, but we would do that. We would find a random scripture and we touch it. The scripture is, hold on, Matthew 16, chapter 16, verse 26, and it says here in the good book, it says, "What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul?" Isn't that weird? It's about selling your soul.
Yeah.
Are we selling our souls tonight?
No, it's not awkward timing at all for tonight.
It's just odd, because it talks about, what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? So we're actually doing some soul searching tonight with the board. Do you do anything, Aaron, to open the board or anything?
I don't really. I just kind of, when I use a board with somebody, I would just say, we're welcome to communicate any spirit who wishes to speak to us. We don't mean anyone any harm or disrespect, and we ask that you treat us the same.
Right, and no attachments.
No attachments. Just say that, and before we close it out, also say you are not welcome to follow us. Go back.
We have to say goodbye too. You say a little bye there. So we have hello, bye. We have the numbers. We have the ABCs, yes and no, just like a real board. Christy will be our scribe tonight, which means that when any questions are asked, we will then allow the board to do its thing, and we'll have our hands on this. Now, I touched the planchette of this board earlier, and it's loaded with electricity. I don't know what it is. It's got some static in it. I can feel it. Which, I don't know if that changes
Well,
things.
Chris and I have been working with it, during the first 2 hours of the show.
Charging it up?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's charged. I felt it. And so Aaron is going to be on one end of the planchette. I'll be on the other end. Christy will be the scribe. Both Aaron and I will be mediums. And what we'll do is we'll think of some questions to ask, just general questions to get the thing started. And once again, we're not here to do any personal stuff. We're not here to ask any personal questions. General questions that I think maybe people are interested in knowing about.
Yeah.
And Christy, feel free to, if you want to start off, once again, we'll read the Bible scripture again. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? What can anyone give in exchange for their soul?
What can anyone give?
I don't know. Here we go. You ready to do this?
Yeah, all right. Oh, we're jumping right in?
I think so. There's nothing, we haven't got much time, so we might as well, right? So, all right. So, do we start on anything? I'm getting all shaky here. Okay.
I will,
you want to ask a question?
We're opening to communicate anything who would like to speak with us.
Okay.
But remember that we mean you no harm and that you may not cause any harm to us.
Okay.
But yeah, is there anything or anyone who would like to speak to us now through this board? That's really fast.
My God. Okay.
That's moving kind of slow, but it is moving.
Yeah,
towards
it is. It's slowly moving to yes.
Yeah.
It's pointing to yes. Are you pointing to yes? It's coming over onto the A. All right. So it points to yes, but it also has shown us the letter A. So, yes and A. Okay. So yes, you're here, and A, what does A mean? What does A mean? Is A your name? Okay. Kind of went to yes, but it stopped.
Pointed to yes again, yeah. Is A the beginning of your name? I'm barely touching the planchette on this one.
So am I. A-T. A-T. Come on. It's moving slow. A-T.
What's interesting is this board actually has some resistance to
L, I know. A-T-L. It's weird. I feel it. A-T-L-A.
A-T-L-A. Whoa, hey, how's it going?
A-T-L-A-S.
Mm-hmm.
Atlas?
Atlas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As in holding the world?
Oh, yes. Atlas as in holding the world. Yes. Okay, Atlas.
That's kind of interesting.
Okay, so Atlas, what is it that you want to say to us? Atlas, what message do you have for us?
It's moving really fast.
W. O. Wow, it's moving really good right now.
Yeah. I'm just going to ask it. Are you trying to spell world? I went to R and I asked it, it went right to yes.
So Atlas World. Okay, what about the world? What about the world? Man, needs to step up a bit. There we go.
What was that knocking?
Don't know. I heard the knocking. It was
that
weird.
That was weird because your producer's not over there.
No. And of course, we got a camera on us. U. N.
UN.
D. UND. E.
Underworld?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even letting him finish.
Oh my God.
It went right to, and by the way, it went right to yes.
Atlas Underworld.
And somebody said Atlas is a Nephilim.
Is that, who said Atlas is a Nephilim? Somebody said Atlas is a Nephilim?
When?
Atlas is going to shift the Earth's poles. That's what some...
Who's somebody saying online right now?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Don't know if
A.
it's true or not.
That's interesting. Write that down. Someone says that Atlas is a Nephilim.
And it's going to switch here.
L. I. A-L-I, Ali? A-L-I-C? Alice? Atlas? Underworld? Alice.
Through the rabbit hole? Is that like a... I mean, there's like a symbolism to that. Going down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so what did Atlas do?
Held the world up.
Okay, Atlas held the world up.
Yep.
Alice what? Went into the world, went into the hole, went into the underworld.
Yeah. Through the looking glass, wonderland. But, yeah, the rabbit hole. She went down the rabbit hole.
Are we going down the rabbit hole together? Is this Alice or Atlas? It stopped. Is this Alice or Atlas? What do you mean? The world, the underworld, Alice, and Atlas. Four.
Okay. The number 4.
Mm-hmm.
4. S. T. A.
Hello.
T.
What was that?
E.
4 state?
4 state. 4 state. 4 state. Atlas, Alice,
Underworld.
4 state. 4 state. We need a break? All right, we're going to break. Let's put this to bye for a moment. We're going to take a break here.
All right. We're going to say goodbye to you for now.
Bye for now. We'll be back. So we'll read back what we got. And also, this is weird. I don't know what it all means, but we'll try and figure it out. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. Aaron Duran with us and Christy Williams here with us on Ground Zero. We're running the board tonight, and it's amazing what we got. Atlas, Alice, Underworld, 4 state. That's some really amazing reactions. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. For those of you that are watching us on Facebook Live, we just had an amazing experience where what we did is during the break, we were trying to decide what Atlas, Alice, what was it? Okay, Christy, tell us, Christy, what is, can you turn your mic on? Tell us what you got in the scribe. What do you have scribed out?
See, are you here? Started with A and then yes, moved to yes. What does A mean? And it says name and said yes. Is A the beginning of your name? And then it's spelled Atlas. And then we said, is that as in holding up the world? The response was yes. What do you want to say? Or about the world? Yes. What about the world? Responded with underworld. Is Atlas a Nephilim? The response was Alice. Alice or Atlas? What do you mean? 4 state. That was the number 4, S-T-A-T-E.
And during the break, we were looking up what 4 state may have meant. We know what Atlas held up the world. Alice went under the world in the rabbit hole. But we were looking at Fourth Estate. We got the media. Okay, so Fourth Estate, we had the media as an idea. Then I read that the fourth state of matter is plasma. So the fourth state of matter is plasma. And then Aaron started looking up Atlas and Alice. What did you get?
Let me bring it up here again. Sorry. So both Atlas and Alice are two of the 7 experiment conductors inside CERN.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what is CERN but the underworld? It's under the earth, and it's
looking for the secrets of the universe in the underground, basically.
In the underworld.
Opening gates.
Opening gates in the underworld. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Opening up portals or tunnels.
Portals or tunnels in the underworld.
Like Alice.
Alice in Wonderland. Okay, so we got that so far. We're going to do some more board work coming up. Stay with us. Listen to groundzero.com. That's listen to groundzero.com. Listen online. Also, if you have any questions, maybe if you get some ideas from what we're talking about. Of course, many people who are tuning in tonight on Facebook Live have given us a lot of great information. Thank you, guys. I'm looking right at you right now. Thank you for all the great information you've been passing to us. You guys have been a part of this from the backside, from the behind the scenes. And some of that information we're relaying to you tonight on the program as we're using the board. Atlas, Alice, Underworld, Projects at CERN, Fourth State of Matter, Plasma. Something about plasma, CERN, Underworld, and what's next? Find out coming up on Ground Zero. 877-733-1011. Listen to groundzero.com. That's listen to groundzero.com. Back with more. Don't go away. Ground Zero. There we go. Having some problems with machinery in here tonight. A lot of things are going wrong. In fact, it's been weird during the transition period here because we go for the transition from the national to the local and also to internet. And a couple things happened while we were in the break. First of all, Jeremy Scott, who runs a show called Parabnormal on the Fringe FM, is also my producer here in Board Op. And why don't you describe what happened during the break so we can figure this thing out?
Well, Clyde, it's very, very odd because something that technically should not be possible from an audio engineer's perspective just happened. And that is a line that nobody can call into, put itself on the air during the break. And
it was line 7. We don't have a line 7.
There is no line 7.
Line 7 is a hotline for emergencies.
Yes, so the listeners cannot get in by calling that line, but not only was there somebody there, but it put itself on the air, and it gave me fits trying to get it off the air.
Because, Aaron, didn't you hear somebody say hello?
Yeah.
So somebody called and said hello while they were on the air, while we were here. And then Ron got a phone call. So Ron, when he stepped up, Ron got a phone call on his phone, and you said that you put the pictures of what you got on Facebook.
Yeah, it's on our Ground Zero Facebook page if anybody wants to take a look.
So what happened to you?
Well, approximately 9:23, I was on my way back getting coffee, and somebody called. I didn't have time to get it. My hands were full. Mm-hmm. And so I looked at who called, and it says 666-666-6666.
Oh, my God.
And, it was
did they leave a voicemail?
For about 14 seconds. Should we play it?
Yeah. Can you hold up the microphone? We'll be very quiet so we can hear it. Okay.
Sure.
Be very quiet so we can hear it. Hopefully. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Can we make that mic louder? What the heck?
One more time.
Yeah, here we go. That's the same sound that Danielle had on her phone the other night. Remember Danielle when she called the program? That's the same type of clicking sound that she had on her phone the other night. Okay, so that's what's been... What's that?
Yeah.
You want to give it a call back?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, let's call it on the air.
But it's just 66666? Oh, it's going to screw up the phone. We'll probably call Philippines or something. Okay, here we go.
Call is not included in your current Metro by T-Mobile plan. Please call 611 for more information.
Said it was an international call.
Okay, so it was an international call. Somebody called internet. Okay, hold on. We're going to figure out what 66666 area code internationally is. Okay. 6666 international.
Well, it won't be the whole...
Well, no, but we'll figure it out. Number This is kind of fun. Okay.
It's not an area.
No.
Anywhere.
Who calls from 16666 US? Somebody called it. So we got a call from 166 USA Canada. It says the number is not rated. It says here, activity, October. Gotten a lot of calls from this number, 1666666666666. But yeah, it's apparently people have been getting calls from that number. Who called me from 6666666? Let's see this. Somebody said they got robbed 40 pounds when somebody called that number.
It says it used to be an area code in Louisiana that was discontinued in 2007.
The 666 area code?
Yes.
Because I know the 666 prefix, actually, here in Oregon, is Gresham. And the reason why I know this is because we were holding a seance once. This guy turned off his phone. He got a call from 66666, whatever. Turned out to be a swimming pool company. And he didn't know why he was getting the phone call from a swimming pool company. It was just odd. So, anyway. So that's what we got so far. Let's read the notes again. Christy Williams with us and Aaron Duran.
Atlas is waiting.
Okay, Atlas is waiting. Go ahead and get on that microphone. And just, okay, so what happened is we got the board out. We started working the board. And, of course, the strange things happen with the call. Strange things happen with the seventh line. Somebody maybe has said hello or something. We don't know. But say what we got so far on the board.
So we started with "Are you here?" and it went to A, and then it went directly to yes. What does A mean? Is it your name? Response clearly was yes. Is A the beginning of your name? And then it responded with the full spelling of Atlas.
Okay.
As in Atlas holding up the world, we asked? Yes. What do you want to say? About the world? Yes. What about the world? Then it responded with underworld. Is Atlas a Nephilim? The response was Alice. Alice or Atlas? What mean? Response was four state, as in the number 4, S-T-A-T-E.
And then we determined that the fourth state of matter is plasma.
Right.
And then you discovered that the Atlas and the Alice are both projects at CERN, correct?
They're both, I mean, I haven't done more research, but they are basically stations within CERN that takes the readings.
Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do...
They're the only two that have proper names. The rest are like LHB. They're the only two that are named.
They also have a Satan, by the way. There's another one. We haven't gotten on the board. Just don't worry about that. But it has to do with the sun. Some solar, something, A-T-A-N, Satan. It's kind of an interesting acronym. They call it the Satan. I'll find that out, what it is. But I remember vividly. I knew nothing about the Alice.
The light bringer, so.
Yeah. So, but what we're talking about here is we're talking about Atlas and Alice, and how Alice went into the ground, the wormhole, into the rabbit hole. So wormhole, rabbit hole, same thing. Dorothy went into the Wizard of Oz through a wormhole, or the twister, the vortex. And then we have Atlas, who held the world up.
And remember, that was a punishment.
Right.
Holding the world was a punishment to the gods. He was one of the last of the Titans.
Right. And then you were saying something about how when we had Tracy on the program, Christy, you said that she did a thing, the Ouija board talked something about the being held the world up by the pillars.
You know, it may have been one of her articles, but I just remember something about holding up this world and us holding up the next one. And I don't know why I want to connect that to the possibility of transhumanism and the virtual world and us sinking a layer deeper and being responsible for holding up the next set of pillars.
Right, exactly.
The next world.
Okay, there you go. So that's what we got so far. We're going to take a few phone calls right now at 877-733-1011. Another thing, too, is I am remotely working everything tonight from my area. Usually I have the board ops doing it. We've been left alone. So we are alone now. We have a few people answering the phone, but as far as having anyone who is officiating over the show tonight, we're on our own. Why? Because people are getting scared. So we got left. So
we've emptied the building.
If anything goes wrong, if we have any screw ups, or if line 7 goes up again or something weird goes down, then you'll know why. Okay? Because something weird is happening in this room right now. So we're basically flying by the seat of our pants. We're going to go to Rich in Indiana. Hi, Rich, you're on Ground Zero. Okay, we got the phones not working over there in Master Control. Okay, we're not having the phones working. Okay, Master Control's got to get the phones turned up because they don't have the phones turned up unless they left us without phones. And we have nobody to notify. Is anybody listening over there, or are we all alone? Hello? Okay, we have phones? Okay, make sure we have phones here. Okay. Let's go to Rich in Indiana. Hi, Rich, you're on Ground Zero. Still nothing, man. Still nothing. We have nothing. So, do you want to reset the board on this side? See if maybe the board's not reset, Ron? I think the board, or we're having trouble, technically.
We'll have to do it at break.
We'll have to do it at the break. Okay, so, let's see, we can break now. Let's break now, then. We're going to break now. As I said, we're left alone here, so we're going to be having to deal with this tonight, and dealing with other things, too. So stand by. More to come right here on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Okay, we're going to try the phones again. Let's go to Rich in Indiana. Hi, Rich, you're on Ground Zero. Still nothing. Nothing's working. What's that? What other one?
Is there another line?
Try another line. Okay, let's go to Sherry in Oregon. Nope, nothing. For some reason, these are off. We don't know why. So we're going to wait that out. And maybe what we ought to do is maybe the board wants to be heard, and we can get the phones taken care of later. I don't know what. But anyway, so let's start again.
Oh, man, maybe it's stopping the phones.
I don't know. Line 7 was working, and then it wasn't supposed to work, and now all the phones are dead. So got to figure out why the phones are dead. Who knows why. Anyway, maybe it's because I can't fire them from this end. If that's the case, we may have to move the board over the other side. So, okay. I guess so. Here we go. Okay, so what was the last thing that Alice told us? Had to do with the fourth estate or the fourth state?
Fourth state. So we should ask, are we still speaking with Atlas? See, that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, we lost Atlas. No was the word. We are not speaking with Atlas.
That's the problem with us doing a general reading.
Who are we speaking with now? Another A.
R.
I.
Okay. A-R-I.
M. Oh, no, not really. Really? A. Oh, my God, no. Araman.
That one's familiar.
Araman is a devil. Are you a devil?
No.
But you're named after a devil, yes? So, Araman is a devil. I'll have to look this up, I swear. It's a devil's name. It's a demon's name, and he says he's not a demon. He's named after a demon. Right?
He's a devil.
He's a devil? I. N. I am.
Oh, it's swirling.
INF?
INF?
INF. Information?
You have information?
Yes.
Do you have information about Araman?
Yes.
Okay.
T. E. A. L. T. H. Information stealth. Stealth mean undercover? Do
you have secret information? Information we're not supposed to know? Yes.
About what? E. A. R T H.
Earth. So this is the second session now that we've done where we're getting
information about the Earth. Something's going on with the Earth. Something's wrong with the Earth. What's going on? What do we got here? Okay. So you'll activate the calls. Okay, so we're going to have Master Control activate the calls, I guess. Okay? So, there you go. So, okay, so, what do we got down going on? There's a lot of distractions going on. You're trying to do a show and do this at the same time.
What about the Earth?
What about the Earth?
What is the secret information you have about the Earth?
A, B, A, D, Abad.
Oh, I know where it's going.
Where's it going?
You're going to spell Abaddon, aren't you?
Abaddon? The Destroyer? Really?
Yeah. Is this connected with Atlas and Alice Underground?
Yes.
Yeah, didn't budge.
S H I
don't get us fined.
V A.
That's the second destroyer it's now mentioned.
Shiva.
And it's the statue of CERN.
Hey, what?
Isn't that a CERN?
Oh yeah, it's on the campus of CERN, Shiva.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Okay.
They're both also connected with Rebirth.
Yeah? I just know that they're destroyers.
And chaos.
And chaos, destroyers. Where is this? Okay, so Abaddon and what was the other one? Shiva. Ahriman. Why all these names of demons, or at least destroying demons, or destroying gods?
R?
I
G H
T Right.
Oh, right. Okay.
H E R E. Right here. Right here. I don't know what that means. They're right here. They're right here with us. They're right here.
They're right here, or they're here in this room. Or
Okay.
Here.
Anyway, all right. So
Maybe they're here in this room.
Wait, really quick. Did CERN let them in?
yes, there we go. All right, we'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The number's to call tonight, 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. So far, things are a little weird. We've now, Aaron has done some research on some of the last names we received on the board. So give us a lowdown. Okay, first of all, Christy, tell us what we had in the last session for those who just tuned in. What names have come up? And then Aaron, give us your summation here.
So we started with, are we still speaking with Alice? And the answer was no. Who are we speaking with now? Ahriman, A-R-I-M-A-N. Are you a devil? No. Named after a devil? Yes. And then we asked if he's a devil, and then info came through, I-N-F-O, and then went straight to, Aaron said information, and it went straight to yes. Do you have information about Ahriman? Answer, stealth. Do you have secret info? Yes. About what? Earth. What is secret info about the Earth? Abad. A-B-A-D. Abaddon? Yes. Is this connected with Atlas and Alice Underground? Yes. Then it went straight to Shiva.
Shiva.
Why all these names of gods and demons of destruction? Right here.
Right here. And
Right
Aaron,
here.
you were doing some research as to what we were coming up with here and what's
Yeah,
going
I was looking up the name Ahriman, A-R-I-M-A-N. It is the English and an alternative form of the word Ahriman, A-H-R-I-M-A-N, which is has an etymology in original Persian, a compound of the word destruction and spirit. It can also be a proper noun of a name of the apostate or a entity concerning chaos and destruction in Zoroastrian religions.
Okay. And then, of course, Shiva, we all know who Shiva is, right?
Yeah, Hindu goddess of destruction and rebirth, and Abaddon is the Hebrew devil who I do believe reigns over the 7th level of hell.
The bottomless pit.
Yeah. And Abaddon's role is destruction and then rebirth.
Wow.
I keep thinking about it saying 4 states.
The 4th state.
Or
fourth state of existence, plasma, right? Or what? We decided not to do that, or what?
I have a weird feeling like there's one more entity that, because then I remember right before we went to break, I said, did CERN let them in?
And it said yes.
It said yes.
Okay, we're gonna do a quick one right now. Okay, what other names can you give us that are right here? You said right here. Who else is right here? I, B, L, I, Iblis.
That name's familiar.
Iblis? Yes? Yeah, okay, Iblis is yes. What is Iblis? What is Iblis? R I S E R-I-E-R-I what?
Rises? Another S? Iblis rises?
Iblis rises. It rises where? I S I S ISIS. Iblis rises, ISIS. ISIS the goddess? ISIS the terrorist group? Iblis rises ISIS? Iblis rises ISIS. Yes.
Well, Iblis is a jinn.
Iblis is a jinn?
Yeah.
So we're, what? Is this Muslim, Islam?
Uh-huh.
Of course, ISIS is what? They're kind of a spin-off of some terrorist organization?
Yeah. They don't really have an organization. That's why it's hard about them.
A T A C ATAC?
No.
A T
I feel like we're getting confliction, like different energies pushing on this thing.
We didn't ask who we were talking to.
No, we didn't. I think we have somebody new again.
I think we do too. Attack? Attack. Okay. Iblis, ISIS, attack. Iblis, ISIS, attack.
So, according to myth, Iblis used to be an angel, disobeyed God, and was turned into a jinn.
S P E A K. Speak. You want to speak with us? Well, you are speaking to us. Who are you?
Tell us your name.
No one. I am no one.
Tell us your name.
No one. I am no one. Isn't that what the demon said in the Odyssey? Or isn't that what was said in the Odyssey? Something.
Yeah, I think we're being.
I think
we're being played.
You think we're being played? Really?
Yeah.
We're not being played? S O R Y. Sorry.
That's okay.
So,
everyone likes to have fun. So who are you really? We want to help you.
Alice.
Alice. It's Alice again. Are you?
Alice is back. Philip writes, Iblis is the name of the devil in the Quran, or in the Quran.
Yeah.
So Iblis is a devil in the Quran. That's what was just said to us.
Alice, are you?
So Alice, what are you trying to tell us? What are you trying to warn us of? W A Wars. Wars?
War?
War? War where? R I G H T H. Right here? Right here. Wow.
Alice, do you mean the war on Earth or underground?
You. Underground?
Underground?
Who's fighting the war underground? D-E V. Devil? The devil's fighting a war underground.
Do you mean the devils that you have already told us their names? Those devils?
Yes. M U S T L I. What? Please, must listen? Listen to what? W A I T. Wait.
Wait.
Wait for what? Oh, we've got to take a break. Wait, is that what? We have to take a break. I just noticed the clock. All right, we're going to take a break.
Alice, do not leave the board.
Don't leave the board. We want you to stay. We want to hear what you have to say. Okay? Stand by, and we're going to get to calls. We're going to figure out what's wrong with the calls, too, coming up on Ground Zero. 877-733-1011. That's 877-733-1011. We'll be back. All right, we're going to try a phone call now. Rich in Indiana, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead. Rich in Indiana, you there? Hold on, we'll get you out. Rich, are you there? Hello, Rich? I don't know why we're having phones. Let's see. Let's do this. Okay, Dave, can you please hit line 6? Rich in Indiana. Hi, Rich. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead. We're going to have to run from Mission Control. Okay, go ahead, Rich.
Hey, listen, great show tonight because I'm a medical death investigator and I'm also a deputy coroner. And I've been doing it for 12 years, and I can't seem to get anybody to do the Ouija board with me. Can I do this Can I do this by myself?
You shouldn't.
Or
you shouldn't. You got to have witnesses with you. You got to have scribes. You got to have somebody at least to be on the board with you. That's basically the right thing to do. I mean, I'm sure you can do it yourself, but then again, you could run the risk of progressive voluntary entrapment, and you wouldn't want that. Meaning that since you're doing it yourself, it's your little secret, and you're basically filling up on it, and you don't have someone to pull you away. It's like a gambler that keeps putting money into a poker machine and doesn't walk away from it. He just keeps on putting money in because he's caught up in the idea of winning. It's the win-win thing. You're winning on the board, and you think you're winning on the board. So there you go.
Great. All right. Well, that was my question. I've got to find somebody to at least do it with me.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Let's drop 6. Let's go to line 1 and Tommy or Tony in Tennessee. Hi, Tommy. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde.
Hey.
I got through. A lot of people, I noticed your ISDN seems to be having some problems tonight.
Yeah.
A bit of a problem with my other phone. The other night when I called back, I tried to tell you that my Siri went crazy after that phone call that I had with you. And I sent you an email this weekend about, go see a different movie.
Right.
Stuff, and then about the different channels and how to mix those together and see what you heard.
Yeah.
Anyways, get straight to the point. Consortium Empire. I mentioned that word earlier today. That is a quick search engine program that I wrote in Pascal a long time ago, back in the 1980s, just as the internet was getting started up. That's the mainframe computers. If you say certain keywords, it will trigger the NSA start watching you. That's how Homeland Security basically got started. Anytime during the night if y'all mentioned the word empire or certain keywords like maybe honey or actor or things like that, those words will come up on the NSA's. I know you've heard of Oracle.
Right. I mean, they have the Oracle. They have. They also have a number of things, and they all filter through that Utah facility. So what's this got to do with what we're talking about tonight? We're running out of time.
Well, you're going down a rabbit hole. You cake. When you go down with Alice, this person that's leading you on the Ouija board is playing with you. They want you to go down that rabbit hole. They want you to have your cake and eat it too. It's kind of hard to do.
Well, we'll have to figure this one out, I'm sure, because it seems that, we thought for a while that it was playing us, but think of all the names that have been given out tonight and what they mean. We need to get down to the bottom of it, and we will.
I texted here on PDX, and that's Hindu. I recognize, although I have a lot of Indian friends, and they believe in Shiva, the goddess of destruction. They worship her, and then 2 or 3 other goddesses. And
all right.
Sirius and all those.
Well, Tommy,
thanks for Iris.
Right. I thank you for calling. We're going to go at the end of the break. So thank you so much for calling. Appreciate it. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye. All right. 877-733-1011. Drop the call, please. There you go. Drop the call. I know you got to get used to it because you don't usually run the phones, but drop the call, please. 877-733-1011. That's it. Everything's remote now. Everything, like I said, people went. And so we're dealing basically alone in the studio, on the other side of the studio. And all producers are gone. We have one in master control. And so here we go. We're going into the last hour. Stay tuned. We got more to come. More answers, hopefully, from Alice on the board right here on Ground Zero. Aaron Duran and Christy Williams, my guest tonight. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Chris just sent me a Facebook here. He says to me, a lot of CERN references. I guess this one is a coincidence. Apparently, he sends me a link. Oh, right from CERN, the Alice quark gluon plasma, a state of matter thought to have formed just after the Big Bang. Okay, and Atlas and everything else. Iblis is the name of the devil in the Quran. Okay, just going over the people giving us advice here. Okay, nothing. Okay. All right, just going over all the stuff here. Okay, so what we've got, last one was Iblis rises, ISIS, right? Yeah. ISIS and Iblis rises. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we'll do a quick session here, and then we're going to go to phones, and then we're going to take a rest. Maybe we'll have to see if we get this wrapped up. So we're going to put our hands on this thing again one more time. We'll get through this because this is the last hour. And things fly by. Time is flying by.
I know. I didn't realize it was like 11:10.
Yeah. I mean, time is really flying by. Christy Williams with us tonight on Ground Zero, and so is Aaron Duran here. We're doing this. We got a lot of interesting names, a lot of destroyer names, and a lot of different, what's going on?
Oh, we've been talking too much? The board just decided that it was done listening to our foolishness.
Yeah, it just kept on moving. H-E-A. B. E. N.
Heaven.
Heaven, that right, yes, okay. S. T. A. R. Stars. Heaven stars. Okay. D. R. A. G. O. Dragon. Heaven, stars, dragon. H. Y. D. R. A. Hydra?
Oh, okay. Hydra.
Heaven, stars, dragon, Hydra. Yes. S. U. N. Sun.
They're all very, actually, Connected imagery.
E-C-L. No, it's I. E-C-I. P. S. E. What does that spell?
Okay, technically it's spelled eclipse because you read it wrong, and you actually spelled eclipse before you corrected it. Remember, you went E-C-L, and you went, oh no, I.
So who spelled it wrong, me or her?
This is correct. It's eclipse.
It's eclipse.
Yeah.
Eclipse. Are you saying eclipse?
Eclipse. D. A. R. K. N. E. Darkness? Okay, eclipse, darkness. S. I. G. M.
Sign.
A. Signal. It spells signal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it sign or signal?
Signal.
Yeah.
It's signal.
Signal.
Signal. Signal of what?
Are we receiving a warning?
For when?
Yes, we're receiving a warning.
About the dragon consuming the sun? Okay. No.
T. I. M. E. Time. O. F. Time of. S. A. Satan?
Saturn?
Yes. Time of Saturn. Well, what's going on with Saturn? What's going on? Anything with Saturn? Corrected Satan immediately, didn't it? So they want us to think we're like doing a Satan thing.
Saturn is affiliated with CERN.
It is how?
Well, if you ask Anthony Patch, he'll certainly say so because they're opening the gates.
Interesting. Okay, so what's going on here? Did you hear that? It's static? Mm-hmm. What is that? What's going on? Hello? What?
Who was that? Speak through the mic right now. Speak through our headphones.
Hello? What was that?
I don't know.
That was static. It was like something just broke in. What did it say? We're gonna have to listen back.
Something I heard like Dessen. I heard a hard D.
Jason? Dessen? I don't know.
Was that you trying to speak electronically through? No. All right.
No. What was the word you heard or was said? What was being said here? D. E. T I N E D.
Destined?
Destined. Is that the right word? Is that what was said? Destined to what? E N D. Destined to end? What is destined to end? A L all? Mm-hmm. All what? T H A T W E F O U T 4. Number 4. Fought for? Is that what that was? Fought for? 4?
That we fought for?
All that we fought for?
8. Then the number 8.
You talked about 8 at the beginning of the show.
Infinity.
K I N G D O M C O M E. Why that?
Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come. What I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
8 Kingdom Come. All right. Okay. What do we got so far?
Well, we're receiving a warning about the time of Saturn was confirmed. Was it trying to, destined for the end? We're all destined for the end. What we fought for is coming to an end, and then Kingdom Come.
So there's a new kingdom, something's coming?
Yeah, I think we should ask what the new kingdom is.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with more Ground Zero. This is getting really interesting. We'll be right back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Okay, we're trying to determine, the Saturn thing. I was kind of saying that it was the new year because Kronos, of course, the time where the children are eaten. And Aaron, what did you find out about Saturn?
Well, the usage of Kronos within the Saturn myth in terms of the story is relatively new. Saturn's initial position within the Greek pantheon was that of a rebirth and growth and liberation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do one last hurrah here, and then we got to go to calls because, people want to talk, and we got to blow through the calls because we're getting closer. So let's put our hands one last time. What is, Christy, do you have a question to find out just how this is going to sum up?
Yeah, obviously it's leading up to something, so when is this date coming? How soon?
What is it?
Kingdom Come, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
2019. Of course, 2019. 2019. N O November of 2019? November of when? R I G H T N O. Right now.
But not 2019.
No, it said 2019 and then November right now.
Well, you asked November, you asked 2019 and it went to no.
It went to no. So no, it's not November 2019, it's November right now. But it's not right now, it's October.
Right.
But right now meaning a month from now? November, something's happening.
What?
What is happening?
What is happening?
What will happen in November of right now?
A V O I D B I G C I T Y. Avoid big city. Will you tell us which city? No. Avoid big city. So big city is in trouble? P R E S I D E N. President. What about the president? C A R E F U L. Careful, right? Careful. H E A L T H.
President's health?
Yeah. Something wrong with president's health? Something wrong with the president's health? I'm being specific. Okay, we're going to take a break, I guess, and we'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 877-733-1011. We have wrapped up the Ouija session. This amazing Ouija session we did with Aaron Duran and Christy Williams tonight. Another thing, apparently our producer Andy heard what EVP shot through, and we were really kind of weirded out by it because there was static, and even Christy, she didn't have headphones on. She could hear the static coming through. So what I want to do is I want to replay it just to make sure we weren't imagining things. This is a moment that happened just a little while ago. Listen to this. Interesting. Okay, so what's going on here? Did you hear that? It's static? Mm-hmm. What is that? What's going on? Hello?
Jason.
What the hell? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
All right, one more time. We'll play it one more time. Interesting. Okay, so what's going on here? Did you hear that? It's static? I'm not hearing the static. No. What is that? What's going on? Hello?
Jason.
What? See, I didn't hear the static, the playback.
Yeah, you don't hear it in the playback.
But is it destined? Listen, interesting. Okay, so what's going on here? Did you hear that? It's static? Mm-hmm. What is that? What's going on? Hello?
Jason.
What? What is that?
I can't figure out what the word is. Destined.
I don't know.
Also, Trace and I had an interesting observation. We were getting perfectly spelled replies and communications on the board until the static and that word came through, and that's when things changed. We didn't get correct spelling anymore. We got odd answers, not knowing the year, not knowing dates.
So it was right after time of Saturn, and it was confirmed yes, and then that's when the static broke in, and you asked the board then, was it you trying to speak electronically? It said no, and then the next word was destined, but I just heard you say that word possibly sounded like destined.
I said, yeah, it sounded like, here we go again. Interesting. Okay, so what's going on here? Did you hear that? It's static? Mm-hmm. What is that? What's going on? Hello?
Oh, yeah.
And it just it was weird because the static came through. Both Aaron and I heard the static. We noticed the static was coming through.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. It's just crazy because we heard it. It's like something was getting ready to broadcast. That's the first time I've ever had that happen where I knew something was coming. The other night we had something happen where we were on the air with a girl named Danielle.
It was almost like a phone line was left open.
Well, the 7th line was open a while ago. But that doesn't mean it's happening. Well, let's get Danielle on the phone. Let's go to Danielle. That's line 4, Dave. Dave, let's go to line 4. Oh, we just lost her. Oh, we lost everybody. What's going on now? What's going on? I mean, how did that all happen now? The phones just died. All of them died. What is going on?
Are 2 and 6 still live?
Hello? Something's going on here. Hello? Okay, 4's gone now. We had all full lines and they all died now.
Yeah.
Every single one of them died. And I'm not running the phones. So everybody who tried to call in again, please. Okay. Let's go to Anthony, New Hampshire. Hi. Okay, Anthony, hold on. All right, let's see here. Let's go to, hold on. What do we got? All right, I'm confused. Can you go to, what was that? Speak up. Hello? Somebody's trying to speak. Did you hear that?
Yep.
Wait a minute. Somebody's trying to take over the phones. Hello? Can you speak to us? You trying to say something to us? Did you hear something?
Yeah.
Somebody tried to say something? Hello? All right.
You got 50,000 watts at your disposal, so go for it.
That was too weird. Something just came through again. Okay. Let's go to line 6. Dave? Or is that already on? It says it's on the air, but okay. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Something's wrong with the phones again. All right. Dave, can we go to Anthony, New Hampshire or not? Another phone. Okay, that's 7 going on again.
7's coming through again.
Okay. Did you notice that there was static? The phones are going. Just take a video of the phones going crazy. Look at that. Okay, so 7 is open again. 7 is not a line that we have. 7 is blocked. 7 is a warm number for the Lars Larson show. So the lines are now filling up again. But line 7's open again, and it's not supposed to be opening. Somebody's trying to call us or talk to us on the phone. Hello? Nothing. Okay.
That's weird.
So, okay, everything here is on hold. So, if we can now go to, let's go to Danielle on line 3, please. Danielle, hi. You called me up last night. You had the weird EVP. I guess EVP follows you everywhere. We tried to get you on the floor. Something came through, and then the phones, line 7's open again. Something can get through on line 7. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I didn't tell you the other day was that my mom was a fortune teller, and she actually predicted a death in our family and then stopped doing it. And after that happened, she ended up seeing like a really dark spirit and like smelled sulfur and ended up ripping off all her nails. And I remember my brother picking me up from school and us going to emergency room with her because she had done that, and they ended up keeping her there for a few days, like for a psych evaluation. But
a lot of people heard on that of it going backwards saying hello, Danielle, and I don't know if somebody's trying to reach through to me or if I have a spirit that's like haunting me because
when we just went to your number, when we just went to the line, all the lines died. I went to grab your line because I knew it was you, and all the lines dropped. And you came back in. You got in again. I don't know how. And then 7, the line that was first open before, it's still open, by the way. Line 7 is open. No one is on line 7. Line 7 is a dead line, and it's open right now.
And Alice is, I remember that name because my great aunt, like my father just passed away in June, and I did ancestry background on him, and my great aunt is named Alice. Like I found her picture and I found out a little bit about her background and stuff. I don't know if that's connected, but that name like rung in my head because I just found that out recently.
Okay, well that's a coincidence, obviously. So a lot of coincidences follow you. Well, okay, Danielle, thank you for sharing with us and thank you for calling.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, drop line 3, please. Drop line 3, please. It won't drop. Is line 3 going to drop, please? Okay, thank you. See, do we have time? 7 still open. That's so bizarre. Okay, let's go to, once again, Anthony, New Hampshire. Let's try him again. Let's go to line 6. Line 6. Anthony, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Clyde. How's it going?
It's weird. Weird night. We've opened up the portals, I guess.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to point out. I was just about to ask you to ask the board when the occurrence were to happen. You already asked it.
November.
Did it say like November?
2019, right now. It said right now, November 2019, right now. And right now is not right now because right now is next month, but it said right now, so I don't know what it meant by right now.
My presumption is my presumption is what I think is that November as of the day of, like a month from today, I think. That's what it's saying, I think. So what is it, October 23rd? So I think that's what it's saying, November 23rd.
Isn't that around Thanksgiving time? Around Thanksgiving?
That's about
Thanksgiving's later this year, isn't it?
It's about a week before, it's later this year. Because it's always the 3rd or 4th.
The day after the Kennedy assassination was the 22nd, and D.B. Cooper, of course, same thing. So that's... Hello?
Was that you?
What was that?
What was that? What was that? Did you hear that?
I'm not even hooked up and I heard it.
Wow.
What was that?
That wasn't at your end?
That wasn't at your end? You're not like...
That was not me. I heard, no, I'm in a quiet room. Soundless.
So, if I read this right, is line 3 also active?
No, line 3, they're basically screening. Line 7 is open. Whatever's on line 7 is coming through. Or maybe that's what they're using as line 7 to talk to us. Because line 7 is a dead line. We don't have a line 7. We have a carousel that goes 6 lines and then it doubles over to 12 lines if we're overbooked with calls.
Okay.
We haven't opened up the other carousel yet. When I say, hey, we've opened up a few more lines, that's when I say call in because we've opened a few more lines. But right now, all of them, well, now we're dropping again after that last, whatever it was that came through. But we have line 7, which is, it's not even a number. You notice it's just not even a full number?
Right.
So it's just a backup for remotes and other things. So it's not even a usable number. We basically hook it up when we need it. It's a VoIP deadline is what it is. So it's coming through a deadline is what's going on. And we can't drop it. So anyway, it's just a weird night. I mean, you play with a Ouija board, you get it, right? You get the weird nights. You know, it happens, I guess.
Hey, Clyde.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's strange. I mean, the EVP and all that phenomena that could be occurring right now as we speak. But the thing is, now it's unfortunate we couldn't get the exact time on that day. I just wish I.
Well, they don't always. Look for November 2019. You don't need the exact day. I mean, just look for something to happen big in November of 2019. Something dealing with the sky. Something dealing with the president. Something. I mean, it was just very vague. I mean, sometimes things aren't always as clear as you want them to be, and that's what you do when you're playing with the board, I guess. So, Anthony, hey, thank you for calling the program. I know we had a hard time getting you on, but thank you so much for calling.
Not a problem.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
All right, Dave, drop line 6. Is line 6 going to drop? The phones are just so wonky right now. There it goes. 7 still open. 7 a deadline. It's been open now for 5 minutes and 53 seconds, and we just had an EVP come through. I don't know if it was on that line or somewhere else, but it's
I
open.
couldn't tell.
All right. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
From the Pacific Office Automation Studios, this is FM News 101 KXL.
All right, so, okay. Having some really weird stuff going on here tonight. Line 7 still open. Talked with Dave, who's our engineer, and he says that 7 has been dropped. It's dead. Nothing should be coming over it. And yet we've been hearing all kinds of strange stuff coming over the phone. We had an EVP earlier. This is the one we got. Listen to this. Interesting. Okay, so what's that? What's going on here? Did you hear that? That's static? Mm-hmm. What is that? What's going on? Hello?
Jason.
What?
God, it's so weird.
Destin. What it was destined or something. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Okay, let's quickly go. We're going to go through phones as quickly as we can, Dave, so let's do it because we've got to get everybody in here before we figure this thing out. Okay. Let's go to Mike in Massachusetts on line 3. Mike, hi. You've got about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say that maybe a month from now, it's not to the date as being the 22nd or the 23rd. It's probably the 20th. And if you look at your Farmer's Almanac, the sun rises at 7:04. I think you know the alphanumerics for that. And the moon happens to rise at the exact same time.
Interesting. Moon and the sun in the same sky.
I also sent a picture through Facebook, and it has a map. It has like 4 quadrants showing fire, air, earth, and water, masculine elements and feminine elements. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that with the 4th state, if you were to start from air, you'd be in the fire quadrant, and it says Hest. So I broke up the words also, and Hest would come between, 4th state. So F-O-U-R, and then separate the H with a state. H-E-S-T, and then 8. I just broke it up into several different ways.
All right.
Posted that on your live.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. Thank you for calling. I really appreciate it. Let's go to line 5. Kyle, California. Line 5. Kyle, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Hey there, Clyde.
Go ahead.
Hey, so back in 2017, I lived in a little town called Cottage Grove in Oregon.
What the hell? Hold on a second. Was that your phone? Wait.
We got something again.
What was that?
I don't know.
Was that your phone?
No, they're both on silent.
Mine's on silent. Okay, I'm sorry. We just heard something else go through. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. So I lived in Oregon during the eclipse, and this tweaker-looking fellow was walking down the street during the eclipse, trying to talk to people, and no one wanted anything to do with him. And he talks about, he walks up to me and talks about how the eclipse is the beginning of the end, that Abaddon and the destroyers would open the ground, and by 2020 they would be here. So I just thought it was really odd.
Okay, Kyle, hold the phone. We just got 2 messages that basically are going to back what you say. Not sure if this has any bearing on tonight's discussion, but Saturn will be conjunct with Pluto in January of 2020, which will be a momentous event. Could 2019 mean 9/2020? And then another entry. Hydra is a natural satellite of Pluto with a diameter of approximately 51 kilometers across, its longest dimension. It is the second largest moon of Pluto. So something, okay, it says, okay. What's that?
And the board mentioned Hydra.
Hydra. Well, something going on in space, obviously. So
something about to happen.
It also said heavens and the stars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kyle, great call. Thank you. Thank you.
Big fan. Have a good one.
You too. Oh my God. Okay. Drop 5. I'm sorry we couldn't get all the calls tonight. We had phone problems. We still have line 7 open. It's dead. We've had some EVP come through. We're going to have to go back and redo the EVPs that are coming through on line 7. I bet they're coming in on the deadline because there's no other place they can be coming down.
Yeah, because all of our phones are on silent, so it's not like something's coming through.
Okay. All right. Christy, thank you so much for being a part of the program, Christy Williams. Also, raising money for Tracy Twyman's tombstone.
Yes.
Where can you go to donate?
You can search GoFundMe Tracy Twyman, or you can go to invokepdx.com, and there's a tab for her and a link there.
And Aaron Duran, thank you so much for being on the program tonight. Great job on the board. We really appreciate you. What a weird night it's been. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned tomorrow. We got something else going on. I'm sure that's going to be just as appealing and interesting. This was one hell of a night. I'm going to go and relax. This is just too much for your soul. Good night, everybody.